Blink and it's gone. Hesitate and you're history.
Gotta move, gotta move, gotta move.
Oh, she lost. Unbelievable.
This is women's speed chess.
Oh my goodness!
It's a collision of elite minds, a global showcase of brilliance under. Blink and it's gone. Hesitate and you're history.
Gotta move, gotta move, gotta move.
Oh, she lost. Unbelievable.
This is women's speed chess.
Oh my goodness!
It's a collision of elite minds, a global showcase of brilliance under pressure.
Wow. Beautiful checkmate there from Vaishali.
Their precision, razor sharp. The attacks, blistering. The tactics, bold. And their tempo, lightning fast.
G4 and mate. Ooh, make sure you do your tactics at home, boys and girls. That is for you win the queen. That's it. That's a match.
Wenjun is the champion.
The 2025 Women's Speed Chess Championship starts now.
Hello and welcome, and it is the last women's semi-final here at the Women's Speed Chess Championship, and it's a 2024 rematch. We have champion Wenjun facing off against Polina Shuvalova. Only one is going to reach the final today. Host International Master Ivan Kahauska, and I'm here with one of the legends of chess. Of course, it is none other than Grandmaster Judith Polgar. So Judith, today someone is going to be off against Hou Yifan. The winner will be determined.
Absolutely happy to be here. Welcome, everyone. A lot of excitement coming up in the next several hours, and it's going to be a tough afternoon or evening for the players.
Absolutely. But for us, it's just going to be pure chess entertainment all the way. And there we see the time control. The match is, of course, split into 3 segments, but it's now even longer. It's even tougher. And the players are going to have to really be knocking it out of the ballpark. 75 minutes of 5+1, 50 minutes of 3+1, and followed off by 25 minutes of intense bullet action. So, Judith, now that the time has lengthened, well, it's all going to come down to this big moment because Hou Yifan is waiting for the winner. Today's winner will be playing in tomorrow's final. Of course, it is all about Wenjun and Polina Shuvalova. As I mentioned, this is a 2024 final rematch because these two played off against each other there. It was 12.5, 9.5 in that particular match. But, Judith, what can we expect? It's going to be 5+1.
Well, I think it's for the players, of course. I'm pretty sure they remember very well the last year's final. They have been facing each other. At the same time, they know that this is not the final yet. And they both want to get into the final, playing against Yifan. Great challenge against her, but there are a lot to be working for today until they're there. We'll see how the world champion Wenjun will be acting and how sharp is she going to be. I'm very curious which part is the strongest for them. It's the 5 minutes or the bullet game, but I think they know and they understand they have to be very focused already from the very beginning. Even though in the last portion in the bullet, 1 minute and 1 second. Of course, anything can change, but we've seen yesterday also with Hou Yifan, when you take a serious lead, it's almost impossible to turn around if you play against a stable personality and player. So I'm very curious whether we're going to have again these 3 win in a row, 4 in a row winning streak like yesterday between the Hou Yifan match yesterday. So I'm very curious to see what's coming up.
Absolutely. Will we see those winning streaks? Will players go on tilt? Will the players have actually learned from their previous year's match? Polina, she went in hard in that particular match in 2024. She decided to force the nature of the game. Will she have learned all the lessons that she needed to? She's had a lot of experience. She's a fantastic online player. She's played a lot of nervy matches. But then again, Zhu Wenjun has been tested. You know, she was pushed to the very edge in her match against BB Sara Salbaeva. And there I can see the first moves. We are off. It's showdown.
Yeah. Knight f3. Start, solid game.
It's interesting because Zhu Wenjun, I've noticed, likes to actually open up with e4. She likes to see what the opponents have prepared against e4, and then she switches up to like knight f3, c4. She does like these fianchetto systems, and just as I say that, well, here it comes. It puts the bishop on g2, and you know she's just going to castle, go for d4, and get that gradual space where she can. Very much like she takes the center and develops all of her pieces, and very classical player.
Well, so far is a very stable opening. Probably she has her own strategy how to play today, and maybe she's switching now, and maybe she's reserving her e4 move for the bullet game. We never know, because of course the players must have their strategy, because they know they are going to be playing like 20 to 30 games against each other. So it is important, first of all, to make yourself stable and secure and self-confidence, whatever you're using and playing in opening. At the same time, you always wish to surprise your opponent and take some time away from her, right? With the surprise. But in blitz, of course, you don't have to make always the best move, but sometimes interesting, unexpected move can be leading to success. But you have to make your evaluation and the right decision how to do it. Knight d2, I like it pretty much, that she opened up her bishop long diagonal, and now c5 came in the central break by Polina.
Yeah. And knight d2 is a very nice move preparing for. So I think
at the same time,
forced.
I would like to see also the knight on h4 going to f5. That's the only thing that I was that knight. It's good to open up the bishop diagonal from g2. At the same time, now I would love to have my knight on h4. Ooh, look at that knight.
You got your wish, because the knight comes to c4. Now, in my experience, this looks very flashy and very nice, but there is a thing that black can just simply step back with a bishop. So I'm thinking bishop c7, bishop b8, bishop b8, okay, bishop c7, overprotecting b6. That has been played. Wow, awarded an exclamation mark, so significantly better than bishop to b8. I thought there was nothing in between those two moves, to be honest, Judith.
Well, actually, for me, contrary, bishop c7 looks like a strange move because it's blocking the power of the rook on c8. At the same time, I can think of an idea that maybe the reason why c7 could be better, because maybe black could try to play b5 and bishop a5 at some point, but d takes c5 happened, knight c5. So this way the pawn is protected. It's not possible to take it. Bishop a3.
Yep.
No, maybe that's why bishop c7 was important, to protect the pawn on b6. This way the knight c5 was possible, and the knight is not capturing the pawn. That was the reason. Okay, figured out.
And I've seen Polina play this type of position. She's not afraid of handling this IQP. The main thing is that she's a very active player, so I think she'll be looking at trying to get into a knight into e4. But as I say that, well, we see Zhu Wenjun like, nope, not going to be happening. You're going to be facing off with those hanging pawns. Now, I personally find that playing with hanging pawns is just about enjoying the space. You try and maintain them on those particular squares as long as possible, and then you just use that freedom of space just to kind of switch between the queen side, the king side, and just wait for as long as possible.
I was very rarely playing with hanging pawns myself, to tell you the truth. It has a very different dynamics than other pawn structures. But it seems like she's doing completely fine with her bishop pair on b8 and b7. I can also imagine that at some point black can try to play h5, h4, while white is trying to double her rooks on the c file, and c5 can be the weakness of black, right? So rook c1, knight d3 can put extra pressure over the pawn on c5, knight e4. Isn't this
Yeah,
a
this
pawn
was
sacrifice?
yes, in the sense that you can. How is it a pawn sacrifice?
What do you do after
You
bishop
gonna go?
e4? After bishop
Well,
takes e4. But rook
well,
c1
okay,
was.
I was thinking. Yeah, okay, but I guess it's kind of not without its risks. Trading off the bishop for the knight and giving control over the light squares. So I can understand why it's a choice in just simply doubling on the c line and putting the pressure on this way. I mean, after all, bishop takes knight is still in the back of the pocket.
Yeah, and bishop e4 is not something you're so happy to do unless you have the great amount of time to make sure and double, triple check it. Whether is it for sure that there is nothing wrong going to happen on the long diagonal, having the b7 bishop there and with queen on e4. But of course, it can be very concrete. Now another question: what white has in mind? She optimized her pieces, doubling the rooks on the c file, having the two knight, putting pressure. Every piece is putting pressure on the c5. But is it going to be enough to win the pawn, for example? Takes.
Yeah.
So now the big question is: can bishop e4 be played by white? With the idea to take the pawn, it looks very risky though.
Well, if it's a threat, it's black. I was going to say, and there we see a5. Yeah, that I'm not sure about a5. Oi, oi, oi. Okay, well, that one's given a miss, and
Bishop
just by the
a6,
fact that
I
the
guess.
evaluation bar shoots up, yes. Okay, bishop a6 is a possibility. I also was looking at, um, I was looking at the king side, Judith. I was
And what are
thinking,
you looking
maybe there's
over
some
there?
kind of. I don't know. I shouldn't be looking over there. I should be thinking about c4 or bishop a6. But instead, I had my eyes on knight d3 just as a principle.
Well, g3 not really take a. I think we're
No,
not there yet.
no. Okay. Okay, so you can go
Knight
c4, you
f6.
can go knight
No
g5 as a
counterattack was played.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting solution by black.
But
But so what?
the
What
thing
about knight
is,
d3? It just comes back.
yeah, but now you've got such as okay, rook takes, and this
Mm,
was the thing, you can switch the queen over to a7,
g5. Look at that aggressive.
g5. Okay, well, maybe he wants e4.
Probably. I don't see any other reason why you would be going g5. G4 now seems to be very strong.
Mhm.
e4. Look the aggression, Polina.
Yeah,
What an aggressive start. Queen a7.
and the white king is in trouble.
Big trouble for white.
Huge. Okay, how to
I
break
don't know if
through,
bishop
right? Because
g3. Maybe bishop g3 works. And knight
then
h5.
back it up with knight h5. Yes, it looked good. Yeah, and okay, knight to b5, attacking both the queen and the bishop. This is a very nice move, I think, and it neutralizes white. Well, means that black is no longer squares. Snap off that bishop as quickly as
Well, black
possible.
is has
Try and
some
trade a
strat with
focus.
the.
Yeah, that's true. I I like this move as well because trying trade off as many pieces as possible. Knight takes bishop is in the air. And the question is now, how is black going to continue with the momentum? And let's not forget, Polina now down to 32 seconds on the clock.
Double question mark? What do you mean? Probably there was a much better move instead.
Just take the bishop.
Or queen d could be also. White could
Oh,
control
wow.
very
Okay,
important squares.
so okay, I just checked. She had to preserve with bishop to d5.
Mm-hmm.
Queen 6 just allows white to make those trades. And okay, I thought she was going to run with the king, get it to safety.
Knight d5. Looking for counterattack 3. That's the best square for the knight. No question about it.
Yeah.
Well,
And
king
now,
f2.
as the position is still like very sharp position until white's gotten the queens off, they cannot rest at all. Yeah, king to g1 made a lot of sense to me, but Polina just continuing, and Hou Yifan, she is down to seconds left on the clock. Rook e2. Okay, this is still difficult. Where's the checkmate? Where's the queen? Queen
Queen d8 and rook
d8.
c7
Rook
or
c8,
c8.
right? Oh, and now, yeah, rook to d8 is coming. Bishop to c4 is also in the air. And now black's king is the one that is in deep trouble. The players are on seconds, and now the h-pawn is going to be falling with check. Yes, g5 also goes, and the house has just fallen apart for black.
Rook d4 at some point.
Yeah. You say it, and it appears.
The fighting spirit is always there,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be enough to save the game. But okay, rook c4 will be on the board, of course.
Just 2 seconds. And Polina,
Okay.
yeah, well, she's fighting hard. With the
Absolutely.
a-pawn, it isn't running. But unfortunately, the h-pawn is also marching forward, and it cannot be caught. And there we see with the players, h2. Yep. Wow. What a start. I mean, Paulina, she really put the pressure on Wenjun there, finding
Yeah.
some great moves, prepared to sacrifice a pawn, coming up with some great ideas. But ultimately, it happened when she didn't have too much time on the clock, so she wasn't able to navigate the complexities in the best way because of the low time. But we have a new game as a new start, and this time Polina is going to her trusted d4. This is her main repertoire. So, Wenjun, let's see how she handles this. Is she going to take on c4? Is she going to go b6?
Yeah, we are seeing so far this non-e4 openings. Very serious clashes. Will she take on c3? Take on c4, going b6, queen c7, also the other move. Bishop a2.
Yeah.
Knight c6. Castle.
Castles, yes. And I just check for us. Yes, this is mainstream. It's 29 games on my database. b6 is a main move, but we see instead rook to d8. That's fine. The whole idea is to get that light square bishop out to b7. And I say that, and there's maximum confrontation in the center as well. d5.
Well, I guess c4.
And sure enough, you called it. It appears. And there's great move there from black. You just couldn't allow.
Probably after bishop c4, just knight a5, going back, and knight c4. One of the ideas to do.
Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it's happened, Judith. What you
C4 is
have
on the
predicted
board.
has yeah, it's come to pass. And I can see there on the live board that the knight has already found herself on c4, getting ready to block out the light squared bishop.
What happened with my board? It's not refreshing.
Yeah.
Okay, now it did.
Well,
Yeah, very
time
beautiful
is
position for black. In these structures, this bishop is the key problem for white. No matter how it's standing there, I mean, before it was two of the pawns in the way, right? So white played d5, but still, this is the challenge for white. What to do with this bishop?
Mm-hmm. And can you do like things like queen to b3? I know that it gives up an
Knight
exchange.
d2.
Knight to
That's the
b2.
problem.
I know.
Yeah,
I know,
that's
but
the
I was just
problem.
thinking, well, maybe you can just get some compensation with c4 and try and take control of the dark squares. Because, I mean, quite frankly, bishop takes knight looks miserable once the pawn on d5 falls. And if you go bishop c1 or rook to b, well, maybe rook b1, I guess, if you want to be giving up any exchange, but it still feels like white is living on the back rank, and you don't want to be there.
Well, yeah, but the problem is that if, well, she played queen c2, because after queen b3, knight d2, it's not only that I take the exchange, but also I can capture the d5 pawn. That's the problem. If you could keep your pawn on d5 and play c4, no question about it that I would also like to sacrifice the exchange. But the problem is that white is losing that d5 pawn. Look at this.
Yeah.
It's horror to see these pieces for black. And having the awful hanging pawn, not hanging, what is it? Isolated pawn, which is actually would be so much better not to have it.
Right. Yeah.
At least it would be some activity.
Yeah, but at
But
least you get the dark
we
squares.
can give it as a present, no? E4.
Now,
Maybe
like
knight
something
e3.
is telling me knight e3, right? So that's the first that you look forward to, like knight e3, and maybe rook takes rook. Okay, maybe rook takes rook first, knight e3. But
But
okay,
knight
the
was on
knight takes a
d5.
step back.
Knight was
Yes,
on
so yeah,
d5.
rook
You
on
have to go
e3.
knight e3 first, but it was winning, I think, on the spot. That it's so bad for black, this one. I mean, it's a torture, right? But that would be finishing, I think.
A killer
At
blow.
least white is fighting.
Okay, and white needs to untangle. I mean, the question is how to get this bishop on b2 into the game, and that's going to be super difficult. I mean, I think you might as well make a move like that. The engine has been a bit harsh. You know, you're thinking about ideas of bishop a3 or rook, kind of hoping for helpful moves from black, like rook takes rook. Okay,
I
Wenjun's
think
not
at
going to.
some time you have to come back with the bishop. But
It's got no squares, and that's an issue. And okay, once again, it's given a double question mark, and there's a specific reason for that. But it's not that obvious.
isn't it a pawn? Isn't that the problem? Rook takes d1 and knight b2?
Yeah, and you drop the pawn on a4. Yeah, okay, you just make those trades. That's what wasn't played.
Yeah. Yeah, bishop c1. I was expecting that, especially after g6. Now it's also attacking on the pawn h. I mean, at least white is getting out of it. I would have taken
Yeah.
on Because now rook f1 will be played.
And
Rook
now she's
b1.
untangling. Well, yeah, I can see that as long as white accepts that this bishop on c1 probably stays on that square for a while, there's no direct way for black to start making progress. You can go rook takes rook and then go rook to d8, but there we see that black is simply just gonna double. So first things first, get rid. Yep.
Can white go f1 and knight e3 somehow eliminate the powerful c4 knight?
It makes sense. I
Go
also was thinking
here,
about
go
queen
here.
e2. The position is very cramped. There's no doubt about it. But there's some counterplay ideas, because the queen moves too far away from the b7 pawn. You've got bishop takes knight knack. Oh, f4. Maybe not the best move, just because it feels a little bit loosening. I can understand the reasoning. Polina is a very active player. When you don't have so much space, you have this instinct just to break out.
Well, and also it's a blitz game after all, right? So you don't mind making risky move because you think the support element, and maybe your opponent will be fearing about your kind of attack you do. So in blitz games, I think you are more capable of doing this responsible or less responsible decisions. Or at least I was ready to do those.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you will roll the dice, especially when your opponent has just over a minute on the clock. But it is Polina that is thinking about what to do, and she
Because
dropped
she got
back.
scared.
Okay.
She got scared of knight a3, but I'm not sure she had to be scared so much. And now a
But
pawn was
now,
given away.
yeah, and how to handle this one and create some problems. You probably need to step back with the king, and she gets out of the queen's eye line, but the problem still persists. How is this bishop on c1 gonna break out? And
That will stay there for quite some time. And now black went back to c8. I like that move a lot.
yeah,
White is trying to open up the rook's play on the b file, but I don't like it for white. It's very sad for white. Maybe f3.
and what about for black? Sorry, for black f3 is very
No,
nice and come in with
no,
the
but
queen.
the knight f3 would carry it with.
Mhm.
Knight e5 makes a lot of sense, supporting the possibility of f3 and also bring the other knight to c4.
Yeah, and
Nobody's going to take this pawn. Nobody will allow that activity for the bishop. No.
but now you can start going rook to b5, and you have a few checks. Knight f5 is in the air. There's some potential. I mean, there really isn't. But okay, I was thinking g3 as well. But h4 is as good a move as any. As Polina fights herself down to 12 seconds on the clock. Now, the position still has a lot of life in it, so there is some danger here for Zhu Wenjun.
Bishop g4 is a problem for white.
Doesn't it trap the queen?
Knight f5 only move.
Yeah, rook is coming down. And okay, well,
It's a
this
checkmate.
it is.
Hey, look at that. Knight f4, queen f4. Oh,
And
well, not a nice start, Polina.
but
d4.
we've seen some comebacks.
Of course, it's just the beginning.
Definitely just the beginning. We saw Barbara, she lost her first two games, but she was able to come back and make some inroads 3+1 portion. So we have seen this type of trend happen before, and we are seeing now no Queen's Gambit declined, and instead we are seeing Queen accepted with e4, b5 in the air. So
Yeah, I was playing
now,
bishop b4 in my times, but they play sharp. Very
they
sharp.
certainly do play sharp, and now you have to do something about that discovered check against the black king. So c6.
I don't know. At first, somehow it looks very pleasant for white. Bishop will be capturing back on c4. Very solid game. Knight e5
Yeah.
maybe first.
But knight e5 doesn't actually threaten anything, because you can just go bishop e7, and knight takes c6 isn't possible on account of queen to d7.
But this position seems very comfortable for white. No chance of winning with black to start with. Very, very stable play by Wenjun. Rook b1.
Well, there's... Yes, I was just going to say that although, white doesn't have any problems, I mean, white has a very comfortable position, black is untangling themselves. Black is very active. There's play along the b line. There's ways to improve the knight from d7. It can go to f6. There's still ideas of challenging with either c5 and e5. So there we see the knight start to slowly improve. I mean, this is like pros and cons for both sides.
Well, let's say 5 moves ago, I liked white's position better because since the black queen moved from d8 all the way to a5 and now a3, it is a very active queen. And it puts pressure on white's queen side. But few moves ago, it was much more active for white.
Yeah.
Black is doing very fine. But I'm not sure it will be really enough to try to create real problems, real chances. After c5, white wants to go knight c4. Very logical. At the same time, this square on d5 will forever for black. Let's see what was the plan. Yeah. Knight c4, queen a6, only move. Only square for the queen, and now doubling on the b5, bringing the other rook.
Yeah, I was gonna advise that black should get rid of that rook, because you could also see a universe where it's gonna switch over to the king side and start doing some damage there. So this, black has a nice square on d for the knight. That's undisputed. And Zhu Wenjun has the space. Everything is still knitted together very well. Everything's protected. I mean, there aren't too many pieces though on the board. So that's, to me, that is going to be very difficult for to actually coordinate anything meaningful on the queen side.
Do I understand correctly that you prefer to play it with white? I know it's a very provocative. It's a very provocative question.
I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't mind. I think that I think white is absolutely fine, even though the pawn on b3.
I'm sorry, but you were answering me so slowly that like 4 moves happened since. Of course, in this position, I don't ask you whether you want to play it with white.
Yeah.
I mean, suddenly white has such a beautiful position, playing queen a2, everything is protected, and it's really white who is pressing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 4 moves ago it was also the case, but this is very visually, it looks very nice for white.
I completely agree. No, I mean, Zhu Wenjun has done a remarkable job, actually, because I did think when you asked me the question, white was slightly worse. But, everything was solid. But this way, I mean, she's just really unified her pieces together. They're very harmonious. And she can just queen a2, target a6. She can also play center. She doesn't need to rush with this type of position.
Yeah, but I think, for example, if I can jump back few moves in this position where a takes b3 was done, I think immediately I could go queen b5 and trying to force white rook to b1 to defend the pawn from back. And in this position, suddenly the rook is defending it from the side, and it's not only a defender, but it's also an attacker at the same time. Actually, now it's only an attacker, basically, because black was forced to go defend the a6 pawn, and now white goes rook a4. She can also improve maybe to go pawn to b4. I don't know if it will be actually beneficial for white. That I'm not sure. But it's one thing is for sure, that now white is pressing without any question and doubt.
Yes. Okay, now I'm going to play devil's advocate. Yes, I agree with everything that you said. But on the other hand, you know, black has some pressure against b3. So that means that anytime you capture a6, b3 will be falling. Everything is relatively rock solid. There we're seeing some trades. I mean, I do love the way that Wenjun's playing. Really suits her kind of brand of chess, which is all about the harmony of the pieces. But Polina's doing a great job of fighting after some inaccuracies.
Yeah, I mean, for black to make a regrouping with her knight from d5 to d7, f5, and attacking the pawn on d4, it made a lot of sense. It made a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Keep an
Knight
eye on
b6.
d6. Okay, doesn't matter, you give up a6. It's that's just a given. Go rook to d8. Hang on, I'm just going to make sure that the queen on b7 isn't going to get. But I feel like you can go rook to d8, queen to e7, and focus on attacking d4.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely looks scary to play rook a7 just for defending him, keeping protected the a6. Rook was the natural move. No matter whether good or bad, you can barely make a move like rook a7 in that position. You just want to look for counterplay, not to sit and wait and be tortured.
Definitely. And well, Paulina's calculated that the queen is completely safe on b7. I wanted to avoid any calculations. That's why I was suggesting queen to e7. So rook a7. Other moves are that you could just go b4, just get on with the queenside play. And it's nice when the move that you call out is played on the board. And lots of times for both
But
of
black
these
has a
players.
beautiful knight on d4. It's just greatly played there. Black can go e5, strengthening the knight at that point.
That is true. Just
Black
very
recovered very
balanced,
well.
definitely. And now f5 appears.
Polina wants to win this game. She feels it that she has a little more time. She has a beautiful knight on d4. White knight on b6 doing nothing. It would be standing much better on d6. But it's not so
And
easy to regroup.
also, the white king isn't particularly safe. I mean, I can see a universe that if you move the knight away from b6, and queen to d5 is going to be coming. So I love this decision there from Ji Wenjun. She just improved the queen. And maybe even she can think about going knight c8 to try to relocate the knight to d6
Absolutely.
and trying to get in a b5.
That I think queen e7 is not the best. Or at least I wouldn't be happy if I see knight c8, knight d6.
Mm-hmm.
Be much better to keep the knight there on b6. Knight d6 on the board.
And big question.
Okay. e4, good move. I like.
I like it too. I also had designs of going queen e5, f4, Judith.
Nice.
And let's go forward.
Well, now you will not be able to play in the King5 because Queen F7 would show up
Yes.
as a unpleasant move.
What of a disappointment. But you mean,
Knight E4. It was a blunder. Knight E4 could have played.
yes, you're right. Knight takes e4 would have been a tactical shot there as the knight f3 will be falling and the queen captures on e4 with check. So queen f7 and well, the players now are down to the 20 seconds and knight endings are very complicated. And here I feel like white has the better version of the endgame just because white's knight is slightly better and the white king just gonna try and find an inroad to g4, one of these nice disruptive moves, upsetting. Now the knight comes, now you gotta advance the pawn or you gotta jump back with the knight. White king is gonna start racing towards the center.
Yeah, knight G6 forcing the black to be pushed to F3, king 3, trying to go king F4, grab that pawn, and
Knight
Polina is
check.
in big danger suddenly. Huge danger.
Yeah, and wow.
Knight D3 protecting the pawn while taking this one. Oi, oi, oi to Polina.
Yeah, this not been a good start for Polina. She's had promising positions. It's very finely balanced. We have another Ju Wenjun 3 and she races to a 3-0 start. Wow. Disappointment there for Polina. Well, she does have a break now as the players do have some minutes just to recompose, maybe re-energize, reassess exactly what's happened. But for Ju Wenjun, this is the perfect start, Judith.
I wouldn't think that she would be complaining if they would just play on, because I think it's good this time for Polina to get a break, even if it's only a few minutes, because losing 3 in a row, it's not funny, especially when you didn't score a single draw. And so I hope Polina recovers and comes back as a tiger and punches back.
Yes. Well, it's going to be all about the powers of recovery. Players go on a break and we are going to go on a short break and we are going to be finding out this impact of this little pause on the players as we return from this. We'll see you in a few minutes. We are back. It's the last semi-finals, and that means by the end of the day, we're going to have 2 competitors, but we did start with 16. And it all began a few weeks ago, and here you see that there is some big names in the chess world, surprising names actually. Lei Ting-Jie, there we also see Zhu Jianer there. I mean, they were knocked out in the round of 16. It just goes to show that this was the creme de la creme of female chess, the best, just competing against each other. It's been an absolutely amazing Women's Speed Chess Championship.
And we have the game already started, game 4. Let's see how Polina was able to recharge herself, change her mindset, and get back being ready to score bishop b6. So Polina went on to play switched opening and played e4.
Yes.
But Zhu Wenjun plays very solid.
Totally. It was going to be like e4, e5, a Berlin, lock things down. And look at the poll. The poll is telling us that of chat, 76% believe that Wenjun will be the winner, which means that tomorrow, if that's the case, it's going to be Hou Yifan against Zhu Wenjun. And if Polina does manage to make that comeback and she turns things around and she wins, it's going to be very interesting, because last year in the WSCC, it was Polina that eliminated Hou Yifan. So either way, we are going to have a lot of fun, a lot of adventure. And there they see that the knight has swapped itself off, is what I want to say, for the bishop. And it's just a normal position. Zhu Wenjun, I think, will be happy with the pawn structure that she has. For Polina, it's all just getting in that pawn break in order to open things up. And everything is kind of following the playbook. Zhu Wenjun.
This c4 is interesting because Polina wants to stop black from playing d5. She wants to gain space. Also, she wants to go b4. Maybe at some point to go knight h4, knight f5, but it can only happen when the queen moved away already. So it doesn't have all kind of tricks with knight e4, queen d7. So by now, knight h4 might be interesting. But now knight e6, black probably wants to go knight g6, a5, very aggressive way of playing by white. B takes a5, I believe, also planning to bring the rook, attack the b7 pawn.
Do you think Polina that this is very a little bit premature? Because
she's playing very straight.
She had. Yeah. I'm just thinking that this was something that she could have done at a later stage in the game. She could have first tried to improve things on the king side and then switched over to doing this a5 plan and try to stretch out the black defenses.
I think now there is a blunder happened. b6 and knight a5. And the pawn, which seemed to be very strong, it seems like going to be falling off after a6, knight a5. Or a6, queen c8 also is just another possibility after a6, queen c8, and grabbing the pawn on a6.
And can you just be a disruptor and go, okay, fine, the a5 pawn is doomed, so either you want to be probably go a6 just to slow black down, and then just switch over to knight h4, knight f5. You know exactly what I'm going to be suggesting.
This is the only way. I think it's the only way to play. There is no other way. You just have to claim that was a sacrifice to give away the a pawn. So you're deflecting all the energy for black to spend the moves taking that while you're going to be attacking, right? It's also possible to play immediately knight h4. That's also something white can consider.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
either
she
a6
didn't
and
do
after
this.
that.
She just went rook to b1. And I wonder whether she has ideas that after rook b1, okay, this is the plan, c5. But that's a rock solid pawn formation that black has there on the left side. But okay, the e pawn dropped, and it's a
Yeah, but the
fight.
attack would have been much more powerful than grabbing a central pawn, even if it's a central pawn. Because if the knight moves away, which it doesn't, but anyway, c4 will show up, and it's a problem for white that maybe the e4 pawn will be not so strong.
Yeah,
Knight c6. Also kind of a logical move, I must say.
yeah, it is
That would
very
be
logical, right?
it would be devastating if Polina would lose this game.
Yeah, what to do, Judith? If she does lose this game, it will be 4 points to 0. I mean, what would you say to Paulina? I mean, what advice would you give her to recover?
Well, before I mean, I'm obviously trying to get away with the answer on that, but if knight c4, there is a trap, knight b4. So this is another critical point for Paul, how to react on knight c6. She took it. Well, I hope for her that she's not going to lose this. But well, the best thing I think what she can do to hang on, not to disbelieve in herself, and not to give up, but trying to get back to the same mindset that it's one by one. I have to get only one full score, the full point, and after that I win again. But I have to be patient. What else can you do?
Yeah. Well,
The
this
best you can do, not to be panicking.
and talking about not panicking, there was bishop takes c5 at the end of his very. I mean, and that comes like a cold shower because knight takes e4 is now in the air, and unfortunately, it's the bishop or the pawn on e4, and you have to go for the higher value piece.
Yeah, it's not easy for white. Knight takes
Yeah.
e4, and after that attacking the bishop. Knight c3 also possible. Seems to be not a bad move.
Looks good. Forking the two knights.
And it's on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that the d3 pawn will also fall off. That's the problem.
Okay. Well, it hasn't been a success for white, but you know, the spirit, never give up. So I'm just thinking if there's any way for white to make any mischief here, I think first up, you don't let the d pawn fall. And you know, you just hope that the f pawn can do something on the king side. And I'm thinking f5, f6, maybe the queen can just harass someone on e7. But I mean, it's going to be a very difficult, very, very difficult mission. And actually, it all falls down to Zhu Wenjun. If Zhu Wenjun is precise, then there's really nothing that Polina can do.
Well, the basic saving idea, I think, for white is that if black goes queen d5 or queen d6, white wants to go rook c1 and try to exchange the pawns, the d3 for the c7. And then there is some great practical chances to save the game. For example, this was an interesting decision by Zhu Wenjun. I mean, it's also understandable because only can win, right? And white will have to somehow push attack on the pawns. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good for white. It does not look good for white.
No.
Okay, she has
But
to
then on the
go
other,
from a8.
Yeah, and then now rook a8. I don't know. Wasn't a big fan of this decision to trade off queens because only the white king was in danger. And here, the white rook can be a nuisance, right? Rook c8, and now you can step back and attack. And then how is black going to be making progress? So now I'm thinking very real possibility that Polina can draw this game, although she just has 20 seconds on the clock. So it's going to be difficult.
Well, it's essential that she's not losing this game, I think. She cannot lose this game, and she knows it. And if she draws this game, she will feel that it's equivalent to a victory at this point. Because just make scoring whatever, half or full point, doesn't matter. Let's break this awful streak of loss. That's the most important right now.
Polina is making all the right moves, by the way. I mean, there she advances the f pawn. Now she can throw in some check. Now the rook can also swing over to g7. It can attack c6. It's just going to be doing this pendulum mechanism as it just swings backwards and forwards. And the rook goes to g7. Now the rook can go back to c7. Keep an eye on c6. And there's no way that Wenjun can make any progress here.
She will try, but it will be not easy for sure.
Well, the main thing for Polina is that she just has to hold the balance. There, make sure that the rook doesn't make any inroads, and she can just step back to d3.
Yeah, it's not so easy for black to create something.
Yeah, this is the thing, the king steps back to e7, you go rook to g8, and you harass a pawn.
Yeah, this is a very general golden rule in rook endgames that you have to be defending yourself by counterattacking the enemy's pawns, right, from the back. And this is what Polina shows very well. She knows why and how you can make a draw in a rook endgame.
Well, Wenjun, she is making that bid to win this game, and the c6 pawn will fall. Do you think that there's a chance for either side to go wrong in this? I mean, it looks pretty level to me.
Well, it shouldn't be, but you can always go wrong if you make some huge mistake. It does not seem that it's possible. Rook goes away, sacrificing both sides, rook for the pawn, and with two kings, it's gonna be a draw because 5 seconds, it's enough for that. Okay, so Polina scored half a point. That was an important one, especially the way it looked at the middle of the game, that it seemed like she was close to have another loss. So this is her moment.
Yep, absolutely. And just 25 minutes remaining on the match clock. So we'll see what the players will bring to this particular game as we await the first move from Wenjun. And she goes for a Reti setup. Maybe she'll throw in c4. No, she throws in d4. And the bishop will come to g2.
Isn't it a strange way of playing?
Yeah, it was very trendy from, I would say, from 2016, where black was doing this knight to d7, threatening e5. And so...
wow.
And then now queen to d3 is over. It is a little bit strange, but black has to just kind of go g6 and bishop just f5.
Yeah, that seems to be a nice plan. Especially after having the queen on d3, e4. Now we're transposing some kind of Scandinavian impression I have. What is that, b7? It's not hanging?
You don't need to ask me twice. That the b7 pawn is hanging, and I think it should be taken. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Here too, right? To go on b5 after that too.
completely agree. Yes, bishop to either just an oversight there from Polina, but she doesn't take it. Instead, goes
But
queen to e5.
if I remember well, Shuvalova, when she played her match with Lee, she was playing very fast there also. Bit too fast, the opening. And here also I have the impression that she plays too fast. Queen d5, what a nice move.
Beautiful move.
That was a nice
And
move.
a lovely move. You couldn't take the rook because the knight falls on f3.
Yeah.
And now, after that little kind of complicated sequence of moves, now we have a situation where it's a very level position. I'll still argue that white is just that touch better because the bishop on g2 is somehow better placed than this bishop on f5, which is pointing at nothing.
So you would take white, yeah, in this position?
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
I understand. f6, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about f6. But I also understand that it bothered her, that knight on e5. Bishop d3, asking the knight, where are you going?
Yes.
Bishop d5 is not good enough.
No,
Just
it's not good enough.
Takes
and
rook
then
d8, so everything is protected.
At the end of it. And in fact, the knight on b6 is just out there in no man's land. So instead, I'm expecting knight to e3. I think this is a good trade if the knight come off. And this pawn on f6 jams in its own bishop. And there's something that Wenjun is so good at. She's good at these technical endgames, you know. Bishop takes b3, do not do, because the rook will swing into action and the b7 pawn falls. So now I'm expecting the pushback, but you can even wait with it. You can just make those slow improvements.
But why to wait on the other hand? What do you want to do? Bishop d2 or?
I was thinking bishop f1, you know, okay, just kind of try to play with a bishop pair, but okay, c4. I must admit I would have done that as well. So, and
yeah, this pawn can be weakness. Black has to take care of that. Rook d1, very healthy continuation by white.
I'm expecting rook to d8, just like this. And
what about bishop b6?
Well, that's why Wenjun is pausing, because she has to calculate rook d6 and then bishop c5 attacking the rook. But yeah.
Yeah, these are the options for white. f5 I like quite a bit. Opening up the bishop diagonal, creating more space for black. And then later on, black will go rook d7, rook d8, trying to attack that pawn, looking for counterplay. Bishop f6. How great. Defender there. Maybe rook e6, rook b6 on the board.
Yeah. But your plan is going to come into motion where black is just simply targeting the pawn on d5. And bishop
for white,
e6,
it's no big deal.
Just to... But then what is white's plan? Just is white going to go bishop b6 and just try to keep a bind on the position? Or is it time to just bring in the king?
The problem is, I think, that for white, this pawn on d5 is more likely a weakness than a strong pawn. Of course, it's not so easy to grab, because most likely if black is going to grab this one, white will be able to grab that one.
Mm-hmm.
But now the problem is for black, how is she going to be defending the a5? Don't let it fall.
Well, there might not be an option there, Judith. Where are you going to put the bishop? If you go bishop to e1, king f1, and you have to either go bishop b4.
But what a nice visualization by Wenjun. Look at that. Rook e6 was played, and then in 2 moves later, the rook is on b5. What a regrouping possibility she created. Very beautiful plan.
Totally. And it's piling on the pressure on Polina, as there's a very real chance she could be looking at a 4-point deficit. The A pawn is about to fall, and Polina, she has to save this game. I don't think she can let that gap extend any further. So I'm expecting going to f6 back again, and then
That's a
maybe
pawn
just
down.
targeting. Yeah. But this is
She will
also a
play rook
pawn down.
c5. Rook c5. But maybe just rook b6, you know?
Yeah. Everything is beautifully positioned because black can win the d pawn, but white wins the b pawn. And then with those 2 passes, it's just a case of advancing them up the board.
I think a5, b4 will show up on the board.
Yep.
Okay, maybe she wants to go rook c7, but yeah, with white, I believe that maybe also white can play a little strengthening on the king side. Rook f3 will be also there. Because black is looking for counterplay. At the same time, if black comes to c2, the b7 pawn will be under attack.
Well, one of the things about d6 is what I was expecting, and now how are you gonna capture that? Because if you take with the rook on d3, then there's as happened in the game, then there's rook c2 at the end of it. But
interesting. I didn't really understand how it was winning for white. If black would have given up the b7 and doubled the rook on the second rank.
I didn't see that either. But Wenjun did spot a way to defend, and look, and now it's just a very
rook f5.
nice.
It was a rook f5 possible. This
5.
Yeah, because there is a pin.
There is indeed a pin.
Well, rook b4 was possible there. So it was not the end of it.
But everything is very nicely knitted together right now. You can go h3.
Technically, it's not that simple. With 50 seconds on your clock, how to win? Not so simple.
And moves you can do is as wide as king e3, tuck the king away, and then the rook on e7 cannot move on account of b5.
It's a question whether pushing b5, b6, does it benefit white or black? At the same time, you have to do something.
Well, the thing was, the rook on f4 was such a great defensive piece, defending.
But how do you create your...
Well, I was thinking you do king h3 first, and then what was the plan to go, to threaten g4 and put the rook on d6. But okay, it is what it is. It hasn't been played, and now how are you going to make any inroads? So you could go rook to... Now rook d7.
Yeah, rook d7 seems deadly. Rook c4. No, I thought simply rook c4 and rook doubling on c7 would be a killer.
Yeah, exactly. The black king is in a mating net. But she's going to be given another chance to do it.
This is also painful.
You have to take on g4.
Rook
Otherwise it's
f7.
checkmate.
Rook f7. That's a checkmate too. And rook f6
Well,
on g5.
and there we have checkmate. Wenjun wins again, and it's 4.5. And Polina this time will have the white pieces. I felt like the e4, e5 position that she got in the game before, she got a good position. She just rushed with play on the queen side. So I'm expecting the same kind of strategy, but a little bit more patient from her. Try
What
to
was
play it
there? Wasn't knight g4 just problematic for white in this
Yes,
position?
it was. It
Knight
was.
g4 and queen h4.
Yeah, it was
Some
something
problem
out of, yeah, it was something
out
out of the
of this
scholastic
tie.
pool.
Okay,
Exactly. But knight
no
to
problem.
a5. And now it's it's very kind of tense position.
But it's a
But
very slow motion we're gonna witness, unless white wants to go king h1 at some point and f4. For now, probably b3 will be the move because you have to defend this one, right?
well, the players have made a few more moves, Judith.
I'm
So
sorry.
they are speeding
Oops.
through this particular section. Yes. Well, maybe we can just retrace exactly what happened, because b3 was played. If we go back to move 10, just to kind of show.
Yeah,
And
b3
then
castle.
a5.
Yeah, against knight a4. It was played c6, trying to go d5, bishop e3, queen e7. Okay, actually white has a nice position. I would rather play it with white. d5. Maybe after this,
Wow,
no.
do we like that one?
Yeah, looks a very healthy breaking in the center. I didn't
But okay,
realize it that it's so fast coming.
you can just capture the bishop, capture the. This is fine, and then you just capture the bishop. I don't think black should be allowed to keep their bishop pair for any longer than they need to. And I'm thinking you have queen to b5 at the end of everything. And we do see some trades.
I was even thinking black could take it with the bishop on d5. Okay, now
That was a
black will take on
possibility.
d5, b4.
Mhm.
That's what I'm expecting. Knight b4. Trying to put pressure on this pawn. Bishop f5 also possible.
Yeah.
Unpleasant for white. And it's again Polina who is struggling. Just having this pawn structure, this one against the bishop, white square bishop. At some point, bishop f5 will show up on c2. Another idea is to go knight to d3 and go back to c5, attack the weakest link of
And you
this pawn chain.
and you do that with tempo as well, because after knight to d3, you're threatening knight takes f2 check.
Yeah,
It's a cheap tactics, but she's gone for your first suggestion. Well, has the elementary but very
actually,
dangerous of bishop c2.
absolutely. But you know what? In this position, when rook a d8 was played, king h1, I think it was a bad move. You have no time for that when d5 is coming. And it's not only that the d5 is coming, but looking back to this position, what's actually standing on the board now, yeah, bishop f5 was played, I believe, yes. The king on h1 is actually much worse than if it would be on g1, right? First of all, there are some tactical things after knight d3, knight f2. Secondly, just further away from the center in the endgame. It's always crucial or can be crucial.
Completely agree with you. But somehow it also feels that the most pressing problem is the queen side. The pawns on b3, a4, c4, all on light squares. Bishop c2 is really horrible to deal with. And how is white going to even maintain the balance? And yeah, she dives in with the rook. But bishop
What's the
c2.
plan?
Survival, Judith. I think White is really thinking like this.
Well, it's very good if she thinks like that, that she understands that it's damage control has to be done. Knight c1 to defend, maybe. Maybe it's the only move. c5, giving up the pawn. Why?
It's not very nice to play ugly
But
chess.
knight d3. Knight d3 can be also very unpleasant. But the pawn was taken.
And this is good enough. Well,
Another pawn will fall. Knight d3 will
the
be there.
pawn.
Either it's on the board.
Yeah, beautiful.
And if the king would be on
c5 is
g1,
coming.
oh yeah, no. It's
No,
just
but
very
you're right. That if the
upsetting.
king is on g1, you could move the rook at least. At
Yeah, but
least
I
you'd
thought
be able to go
I
rook b1 or something.
yeah, but I thought at first I could move it to d1, but d1 is not possible. But anyway, the king on g1 would be, for many different reasons, standing much better. But the problem is that white is losing another pawn here right now on c5. She's down on time, down on match points, down on this game. So it's very, very difficult emotionally also to play for Polina. Each time when with such a big score difference, you have a bad position, it's like, oh, it's just so painful.
Well, she needs to
It's just
sharpen
so
up though,
painful.
because there's still a lot of games of chess to be played, and there is that possibility of the comeback. Because one of the things is, it feels like it's been relatively smooth for Ju Wenjun, and sometimes if Paulina is able just to re-energize, just refocus, and come back fighting, all it takes is just for her to win one game. And suddenly, this might unsettle Ju Wenjun, and you might see Ju Wenjun lose a few in a row. I'm just.
Well, yeah, but it depends also how you win the game. That makes a huge difference, I think. Like if Ju Wenjun would make a big blunder, and she would win that way, Polina, I think it would be a better chance, because it's also important not only the fact Polina wins, but somehow Polina wins the way that Ju Wenjun would be unbalanced after that. Because Ju Wenjun seems to be incredibly stable and balanced in this game. So even if it's going to be a draw or she's losing a game where Polina outplays her, she's not going to be insecure or losing her self-confidence or anything like that. I mean, she knows that already she has a huge score advantage.
She certainly does. She leads by 4 points. And in the meantime, well, Paulina is fighting. She's 2 pawns down. But the rook on a6 is targeting a5. And if that pawn falls, well, suddenly the draw is within grasp, and the knight comes in. But how to make any further inroads? Knight b7, knight
Or knight
b3.
b3.
Watch out.
But rook b8 excludes both, and also in the next move, black might be showing up her strengths on the second rank with the rooks. White wants to go probably with all kind of these interesting ideas to look for counterplay with rook f3 and attacking on f7.
Yep. And okay, there's still fight. And Polina down 30 seconds on the clock. Knight f1, rook b1 in the air. Well, time to take a timeout with rook
Oopsie.
c1. But there's still problems with the a5 pawn. So I like your suggestion of rook c5. Wenjun, she's such a stable player, as you mentioned there. She's completely unfazed. And now the trades are being made. 3 minutes and 25 seconds on the match clock. Do you think this is going to be the final game, or we're going to see one more?
Oh, we are going to see one more.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I think so too. And now you can jump in with your knight. Knight to e3. The g pawn falls. No, this is over. The rook can swing over to a2. And
Well, she's just
there's going
so
to...
professional. Look at that, the simplification. Just simplify, no chance for white. It's technical thing. She brings her king. She leaves to cut the with the rook. Everything. She brings up king g6.
Yep. Just
Then she
nicely
moves
done.
f6. She moves the rook
Absolutely.
away. Pushes b check, a4.
It's still not easy, though. I would
No, I'm
say.
also thinking that is it possible to make a draw? But I would doubt that we have much of a chance. But I didn't like f5 though.
No, and now there's a chance. The rook will go over to a6. And now the pawn advances to a3. But there was a chance, I think, for white. But okay,
But
it
I
was
think king
difficult when you just
e5.
have seconds.
King
Mm-hmm.
e5 and the
Now,
king is out. King e4.
okay, but the rook can carry on checking the king. So if you... But okay, are you going to run? Yeah, run towards the middle.
b4.
Okay. King b2. And yes, the rook can build a bridge, and the a pawn is going to become the queen. So Wenjun on the verge of winning this game. She does win, and now it is 5.5 to half. For Polina, this is going to be such an important game psychologically.
Well, I think for Polina, the only thing is on her mind. Let's get out of this 5 minutes blitz portion, and then let's get the faster time control. Because already some magic, something really serious has to happen that she will be able to bounce back in this match. I mean, 5 points, it's already a lot, of course. I would visualize that in the 1 minute portion, it can be a huge shift. But I see Zhu Wenjun in a too stable position, and she makes extremely good decisions from practical point of view. When she has a winning position, she simplifies, she makes it the way that she gives the least chances for the opponent, which is very powerful and painful. Okay.
Yeah, I have seen if there's like a small weakness in Zhu Wenjun's play is that at times she hasn't been incisive enough. She tends to go for the path of lower risk. So that's why, we saw like moves like rook to e1. I mean, we saw her trade of queens where perhaps she should have kept the queens on the board. So that's some information that Polina can work on, but she definitely needs to adjust. And I suspect maybe even sharpen up the game very, very quickly. And there we're seeing the knight come to the b6, but this is just inviting the a pawn to go all the way and start attacking the knight.
Yeah, this pawn c4 can be taken in a late stage. The knight b6, I guess she was playing it to attack the d4 pawn. But if the black goes back, so bishop f1 is a move in some way to capture on c1. This is also happened. in the game. Well,
Yeah.
again, white has a very nice and pleasant position, unless black can go e5. Because if white can just simply take the pawn, it's such a beautiful and pleasant position for white. And having the pawn on a5, it can also be very powerful not to allow the knight to b6 anymore.
Yes. But okay, you have a choice, right, for black. You can go c5, you can go e5. So you suggested e5. I mean, is there anything wrong with going c5? At least try and bring the
After
rook into
c5,
the game.
I go d5.
And then
And then the
after pawn
question
takes
is, whether can
d5.
you go knight e5? This is the question. But bishop b4 was played, knight c4. Will black take and take on a5?
Well, she's done that. And, well, she has the intention of dropping the bishop back to b6. At least the queen side will be stable there. And there'll be some pressure against the center. And sure enough, it appears in the evaluation bar. I'm sorry, Paulina, it rises in favor of whites. I mean, why is this such a bad move?
Probably
It's not.
because it was better, maybe even to take d3,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, black's position can be extremely passive, even to go bishop a3, later on e5, bishop d6. That would be something that I would be looking also.
Yeah,
Black's
bishop
position
a6.
sometimes can be so passive.
Well, talking about passive, it is because bishop a6 is a big threat in the position, grabbing the c6 pawn.
At the same time, it's not so to grab that, because the e4 pawn can be also captured when your queen is going to exchange on c6. But, well, now queen e2, I guess, can be very unpleasant.
Ooh, queen e2 threatening bishop a6. Very, very tempting. It's a beautiful, and there you see, it is on the board. Queen e2. Now the queen has to move away.
Where it came from, to c7, going back.
But this is not good news. You know, you want to be playing incisive moves in this type of position. You don't want to be making the same move again and again and just allowing white that free hand, because you can back this up with bishop a3 and knight coming into c5. I mean, it's a complete bind on the black position. And
But now
by the way,
there's
Judith, I was just going to say, this is going to be the final game in the 5+1 portion, as the match clocks tick down to 0.
at some point d5 can be very painful. So, for example, bishop a6, I think black should be going to a8 probably, because if it would be going c7, then d5 would be kind of quite tough. Or bishop b5, winning the pawn this way, I think. So let's see what will be the move in the position after rook c d8. Is bishop a6 gonna be the move? And that's on the board. Queen a8, bishop d3.
And
Rook
interesting.
e8. Yeah, rook e8 is kind of understandable, because I was always looking bishop a3, which could be bother black's position also. Now, for
I was
example,
looking at
maybe
that.
queen c2 I like.
It's tempting to hunt down the pawns. It's also tempting to do absolutely nothing and let black enjoy their lack of space. So I'm just thinking h4, and
I don't like
Zhu and
f4.
Jun's going f4. Well,
What about e5?
that's the first move that comes to mind, right? Because of this pin against the king. So I feel like e5 probably should have been played. And now you can step up king to g2, queen to f3, and start the creep.
Well, f4 was a very surprising decision for me by Jun.
Interesting as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that because the knight on a4 created such a beautiful bind, and the queen on a8 didn't have a purpose. Now
And
she's
the
out.
c6 and the c6 pawn was a weakness. Well, maybe it's going to be taken. It's not going to be a weakness anymore.
Yeah.
Bishop
Well,
b5.
it might not be in existence. I like that. but rook c7. Hold on.
Yeah, this way
Nice
it's
move there.
unpleasant. Yeah, at some point after taking on c6, of course, one painful moment d5 will show up, giving all the power to this b2 bishop.
And the problem here for black is that the knights are not anchored, and so the bishop was going to come and take on c6 and then anchor itself with a pawn. But this way, at least black gets a pawn on e4. There is some activity. And the white king, well, there's air around it. So it's possible for white to make a mistake. But okay, queen a2 is a possibility. What other moves are good? Knight d6, knight f6. Probably knight.
Yeah,
I would
knight
go
f6
knight 6.
maybe. Yes, because this f4 made so much weakness for white king that if it would be here, it would be a much more quiet position. I mean, here, once the queen shows up f3, there is no way that white is getting away from the perpetual check. So there are a lot of saving opportunities for black after having this pawn structure for white f4. So probably Wenjun regretted it already quite a bit. Why do I have my pawn on f4? You may ask this question.
Well, you know what they say. Well, with hindsight, everything is 2020. So there's no chance to regret. And instead, you have to play. So can you? Okay, first,
Rook d8.
one is looking at rook to d8, rook d8, bishop a3, queen c7 on the horizon. I mean, his king for the time being is very safe. The queen cannot give a single check.
Well, this can be decisive, I think. Though bishop
Queen
a3 is not
c7.
working yet, to queen d4 and b4, or b4 immediately.
What about queen c7?
You're too brutal. Queen e4?
Yes. And, well, queen e2 is a nice risk-free move. At least now you have queen e5. You can back this up with d5.
Well, in this position will be a question, as you pointed out before, that for Juven, one of small weakness that usually she's choosing the more solid moves, right? And there are some positions where you have to hit. You have to be focused, you have to be calculating and go for the sharp thing. And she could be misplaying in from that angle. But it seems like rook f8, for example, just on the spot. Or even here, there is
Well,
not going to be a perpetual check. King e1, king d1, going away.
nicely calculated. And the king is hiding on the queen side. Wow.
Rook d8.
And the king just hides on a2. And the knight is falling on f8. Nothing to be done.
That's a brutal start for Juve
Well,
and
she could this
Jun.
queen d5. There's queen d5, Judith. She missed it.
Uh, Yeah,
And
but time.
Wenjun wins on time. Okay, when you have seconds left on the clock, it's very easy to miss those kind of checks. But in the end, 6.5, it's been the Ju and Jun show.
Well, it was a very painful one for Polina, but let's see how she can recover from this. It's not going to be easy at all, but she must at least balance it in the next 50 minutes. But you know, she can even go over in the score. I mean, okay, Ju Wenjun blundered a rook here, but basically the whole game, I mean, she was doing fine.
Yeah,
She had a
absolutely.
great
I mean,
position. She played well.
It does seem like Ju Wenjun has just gotten the hang of Polina's style. So Polina will just simply have to be bringing her A game. She has to forget everything that's happened in the 5+1 and 3+1. It's a clean slate. Chess starts over and she will have to be bringing her A game. And talking about the A game, if you want to watch the stream with your A game, well, don't forget to subscribe to our Twitch channel. Unlock exclusive emotes of your favorite players, no ads on Chess.com, and fun content during the broadcast breaks. Subscribe in chat to level your streaming experience. And we're going to be right back with the 3+1 portion just right after this break.
I think Hou, because generally she has like a perfect instinct for chess. I think about the time, because generally everyone gonna make a mistake, and if you play quite fast. But okay, the quality of the game is really hard to say. I think I played once before and I was really enjoying playing that. But for me, I think speed chess is like a really fun things to do. So I think for me, my strategy is try to enjoy playing and don't think about the preparation too much, because just like I said, because we're gonna make a lot of mistakes. So like opening preparation, I think is not very important, but maybe like energy, and also like when you down points, but maybe you still have time to chase and like a 1+1 or something like that. No, I think generally all chess is include luck and skills. It's not only for the speed chess. I think sometimes actually it's really can't control. Like you have a winning position, but under the time pressure and also like different circumstances, and you just can't explain what happened, but maybe you just lose a chance to win this game. So I think, but for me, I think when you lose some kind of position like that or some tournament like that, maybe in the future the luck will come back. Yeah.
Now looking back at your career, do you think all the hard work to become one of the best chess players in the world was worth it? Would you do it again, or would you choose a different path? Well, I don't think I can say I would do a different path. I was so successful and I love the game so much that when you love the game, when you're successful, when you have all those achievements, I think it's very hard not to like it. Of course, I would do it again. I had so many good things in my life through chess that I don't think I would like to change that. Do you think we'll see a female player become a world champion in the open category in the near future? And are there any current players you believe have the potential to achieve this? I do believe that someday there is obviously a possibility that a female will become the absolute world champion. But right now, I would more like to see maybe several ladies in the top 20, let's say. I think that would be a bigger achievement to show that ladies are capable. And obviously, it is possible from my perspective. Right now, I can't pinpoint out anybody that much who is already very close. But of course, there are players like Botana. I met her. She's a huge talent. She loves the game. But she's not the only one. There are other, obviously, many Indian girls, I think. Maybe we don't even know them. But I even met several ones who, if everything turns out well and they are dedicated, the parents are supportive, they have good coaches, they have all the potential to become the best player they can. And I strongly believe that it's not a matter of gender. So obviously, I'm very supportive on that. And I hope that in a decade or two, we are going to see several girls being in the top 20, let's say.
We are back, and it's now 3+1. But Wenjun, she leads the match by 6.5 points to half. It has been complete domination from this women's world champion, WSCC champion so far. But for Polina Shuvalova, she needs to level up. She just needs to have, in that break, just figured out a new strategy just to change things, because whatever has happened has not been working for her. But it's going to be difficult.
Absolutely, it's going to be very difficult for Polina, but that's why we are fighters, to try to show our strengths and make Wenjun's life difficult in Polina's case. So I think the main thing she has to be doing is, okay, let's forget about whatever happened. It happened. Let's focus on this 3-minute portion. I want to win this part of the match, and then we'll see.
Talking about that, so we see a completely different change in openings. As you see, e4, none of this solid games as bishop to c4 coming on the board. And now the queen came out to threaten scholar's mate, so that's why the knight dropped back to d6. And I actually approve of this type of chess, especially when the chips are down. You got to go for it. You got to play these unconventional openings.
Well, I fully understand why they came up with this, but of course, both know this line. So it's going to be quite a balanced position, completely symmetrical, which brings it not so easy sometimes to squeeze out of this position any advantage for white. Black is grabbing this bishop, which can be an attacker and unpleasant in these positions. So eliminating one of the attackers, it's always good. This d6 knight from the Petrov, also there is a line like this. It seems to be really bad, but black can solve its problem by playing b6 and bishop b7. So all her development problems can be solved, and this is what we are seeing right here, that b6 was played. And of course, after a takes b3, I like that fact very much, that the rook did not make a single move. At the same time, it's already an attacker on the a file. So let's exchange everything, bishop e3.
Yes. I was going to say one thing in favor of Polina's opening strategy is the fact that Wenjun loves to play with a big center. I mean, she loves to put the pawns in the middle of the board, and the knight on d6 is an obstacle to that. So there might be some discomfort. But we'll
at the same
see.
time,
And we
at the same time, all black pieces are doing fantastic, right? Especially, I love this move a5, which was just played, because black is giving the hint that if you are not behaving well, I'm going to go a4 and a3. So you never know. Bishop on d4, I like, but maybe knight b5 will be going there and strutting. Okay, question to black. Rook e1 with the tempo. Okay, White improved in on her position, I believe. I mean, d4 bishop is very powerful. Could be very powerful.
It is. It is, but okay, it's still very much a full-blooded fight because,
You see,
hey, the White King
it
is not
attacks.
safe.
It attacks, but it defends also at the same time. So there is not much
True.
Black can do on the a file.
And
Okay.
maybe it was time to kind of go h4, h5. Okay,
It will
instead
come.
attack for
It will
d7.
come.
Yes, I'm a little bit impatient. There's also moves like rook to e7 in the air as well, if you want to play with the pieces.
Maybe Black will have to take on f3, because if the White Knight shows up on e5, maybe it can be more of a problem for Black. And it's done. And it's done. Don't jump around. Don't jump around with your knight.
Well, that's not
Takes
been
on d8.
allowed. But it's tempting to go g takes f3.
But that can be also risky to get the worst position with White if you take g takes f3. Rook e8.
I know, but the queen
Rook
is still
e8, you
beautifully placed
take.
on g4.
Okay, so you take. Okay.
There's also rook g1 at the end of it, and then you can take on d7. There's also h4, h5, just to kind of maximize everything. But what's happened? Still decision time. Well, the fact that Polina is hesitating doesn't play queen takes bishop. Does suggest that she's given serious thought to g takes f3. But okay, she captures with the queen.
I understand her that she was afraid of making a risk. At the same time, maybe that was the best solution to make. But if you do g takes f3, do it fast. Because she lost
Now the clock time is the
time.
same. I mean, she's trailing by 6 points. She's got nothing to lose. So
I think also
play quickly.
that Polina should be more aggressive, more straightforward, more provocative towards Wenjun. Okay, now she's trying.
I definitely agree with you. I think that we have seen Polina play in a very confrontational style, but that has been when there's not been much time. She's not been able to figure out exactly how to put the pressure on Zhu Wenjun. But if she does it from the get-go, when she has lots of time, then I think there's more of a chance for her to be successful like this. But she's doing some good things here. I mean, the queen on c8, very active. The question is
What
she
about queen
actually going to be
d7?
able to make progress?
What about queen d7?
Well, queen d7. Well, we see c5 instead.
Interesting what she wants
coming.
to do. b5, b5, b4?
But then you have to factor in g5. And this is nice. Control the e5 square. Queen c6 is coming. And now you can still think about going g5.
No, now I like her position because she's pressing. That's good.
And it's Zhu Wenjun who doesn't have too much time on the clock. Some jacks in the air.
Okay. Jack and bishop d8, yeah. That's an option.
There's also even maybe ideas of trading queens and then go. Okay, I was thinking bishop to d8 as well.
Queen g6.
Yeah.
No, but I can't blame Polina in this game because she's trying. She's trying. Oops, knight d3. Bad news.
Yeah.
Draw. Well, it's draw e5, queen d6, and perpetuate check.
Just don't put your king on a3 because queen a1 is going to be checkmate. Okay, careful. And there we see going to be a repetition. Well, 7 points to 1.
Let's see the next game. Wenjun sticks to her d4 knight f3 setup. It worked out very well in the previous game.
Well, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? Especially when everything is going Wenjun's way. So why not just keep going for this very stable position with a very solid pawn structure? And this is something that Polina played a lot against Mary Arabitsa in the round of 16 encounter.
Yeah, you have to play very well in order to create your chances here. She has to play very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But she should come up with some unexpected ideas. Because the slow, typical ideas, Jun is very much prepared for.
Yeah. And also in terms of the match situation, if Ji Wenjun manages to get these very long games and able to drag every single game for as long as possible, it's going to be very difficult for Polina to actually win the match. I mean, are we too far gone now? 6-point deficit. That's
Well,
immense.
mathematically, of course, it's possible. We are far from the end. The question is how Polina can turn around to her favor. How can she unbalance Wenjun from her stability?
Right. Look, because what I'm thinking is like if these 3+1 games, if you just get these very dry, slow positions like the kind Ji Wenjun has, I mean, it's going to take a long time for Paulina to win this one, as she wants to do, or even draw this one. And it's going to burn up a lot of time on the match clock. And then I'm just thinking that even if Paulina manages to get some wins, it might not be enough in the overall when we get to the bullet section.
That is very much the case. At the same time, I would be very happy for Polina already to start winning with one game, because so far out of the 8 games, she could manage only 2 draws. So just to show that she's capable of scoring a full point in a game, that's already a big step forward in this situation.
I like it. Just keep it. There we see big blunder on the cards.
Because b4 was hanging.
And it's still
It
hanging.
was a pawn. Well, it's white to move now because she went queen c2, g6, and now she's back.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not a mistake that Ji Wenjun will allow to happen again. So now the threat is clear. Bishop takes bishop, and the knight is loose on a4. So
at the same time,
back to f1.
At the same time, I think queen c2 was a move which showed that Ji Wenjun gets tired. Because it was a different kind of mistake for me. Like losing concentration. But now she's back in business in a very good way for her.
In a very good way. But okay, well, this is a very long stretch. No, we just had 75 minutes of 5+1. Now we have 50 minutes of 3+1. The B pawn is rolling up the board. I mean, let's not forget how tense these matches are and what strain they put on a person.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. b6, what a passed pawn for white suddenly.
It's very nice. Queen to b5 is incoming as well. And eyeballing the c5 pawn.
Queen 6, nice move.
Now.
Attacking the knight, but also important to take away from the white queen, I think, the b5 square. So this is the
Yeah.
question in these positions. Is the b6 pawn a powerful pass pawn, or is going to be a weakness? This is going to be the question.
I was also just thinking, can that B pawn make it through to its destination? Because you mentioned that the A4 was hanging, so I was thinking, well, there's some possibilities of some knight E5 and then B7 in the air, rook takes C5, and okay, we're talking about knight C5 is actually appeared
She's
on the board.
simplifying.
Mm-hmm.
Simplifying.
And now you can,
What a
queen
nice
B4,
simplification. Look
B7.
at that. But look at that. How nice simplification it is by Wenjun. Amazing.
Well, is it over? Because you do have a knight to d6 covering b7.
But then knight e5 or knight d4 and you're pushed away and the d5 c5 is hanging.
Well, everything is tightly controlled and
But it was a beautiful
knight
solution by her.
and found with not that much time on the clock as well, just showing that Wenjun is able to just be able to play fantastic moves under pressure. And now the question for Polina, how is she going to defend the knight on c5? Is she going to be going knight takes b7? Yes, she does that. And now we have an endgame where if someone is going to be pressing, it's going to be Zhu Wenjun. She has the better pawn structure.
Exactly. Exactly. Though I don't understand why she moved away with her knight, moving away from the center, but obviously it's not going to be a position where she's going to give any chance for black, to be honest. G3, H4, she goes King G2, no knight G3, please. Of course, no blunder. She goes Queen D3, covering the E4 square. She's like incredible stable. Knight D4, eventually.
Yeah. And she's been very kind because she could choose to play this position on for a long, long time. But she did offer to repeat the position. And now I think, yeah, G5, the king is locked out of the game. So this should just be fizzling out to a draw. 7 seconds though. And
She even gave up the pawn because she was afraid in the pawn endgame.
yeah, but this is gonna burn time on the match clock, Judith.
Yeah.
And if
And
you
probably
maintain that 6-point lead,
yeah.
going into the bullet, I think it's almost insurmountable. So, okay,
Okay, she
nice
saved it.
find. And a draw. Very nice find there from Polina at the end. But that game took a long time. Polina has the white pieces. And what else are we going to be seeing? Yeah, the bishop comes out to c4. So we're going to be seeing maybe the same approach. Knight takes e4. Nope. c6 being played.
C6. I had the feeling that maybe Polina is somehow getting into it, and Wenjun is starting to get tired. But she was so professional in the last move to make the simplification by sacrificing a piece with seconds on her clock. Incredible that she has this strategy. She has a lead. She's focused. She's not looking for getting advantage, but she does look for simplifying if there is an opportunity to go for a draw.
And talking about simplifying, I was surprised by the c5 pawn advance that Zhu Wenjun played because it concedes a huge square on d5.
Well, that d5 is a big hole. And let's see if Loncasso will be part of this game. Not anymore after played a4 against b5.
But there is Rook d1. Okay, now you move the queen, but there is rook d1 and there's a pylon on d6, and it's not a nice position for black.
It's interesting
White
that she
piece
went
is,
queen e2. Queen on d2 could
but
be
it makes a lot of
also.
sense. It
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense to me. Everything is protected. You're just going to be focusing on doubling on the D line, targeting the only weakness that black has. Wenjun, she is offering a trade. She's trying to correct her pawn structure. Also, at the same time, she's threatening bishop takes bishop, followed by knight takes c2.
rook d1. Of course, the rook stands the best on d1, trying to play at some point e5 because there is this pin on the d file. How can black handle that? Not a pleasant position for black. This is Polina's game.
Definitely. It's definitely c5 is a big positional mistake. But yeah,
It was
this was the
definitely
plan
very
that I've
risky.
been mentioning. Yeah. But okay, it's a gamble that paid off. And I think that she has to now carry on adopting this type of strategy on the e4, e5s, just play a tricky sideline, something that Ju and Jun perhaps wouldn't have prepared, and then just keep moving about because oh
B
no.
b5 blunder, big blunder.
Oh. And the e falls. Oh, but will Juwenjun spot this? It does involve putting the B pawn on Pries.
And it's on the board.
And just like that, in one move, Polina just completely loses control of the position, and there's a massive turnaround. I mean, this is one of the most painful things there is about chess, is that one blunder, one mistake, it just costs you the game.
Well, in this case, it is the exact situation.
Hmm. Oh,
Sad reality.
okay.
An exchange.
And, and looking at Paulina's face, I don't think she can quite believe it. Everything was going her way. She's not happy. She had a position where she was in full control, one slip, and then suddenly the pawn on e4
Exactly.
falls. The rook also goes. And it's Ju and Jun, who is now going to extend her lead even further. We're going to be going into the half time break with Ju and Jun having 8.5 points to 1.5.
Well, we'll see if she's going to be able to convert this exchange up because technically I think it's not that simple. I mean, white moves away. Well, d5, that's a problem. That's a problem because even c4 will show up after queen b3 or knight d3 immediately.
Yeah. But psychologically, for Paulina, this is going to be is so devastating because even the winning positions, they go wrong.
Yeah, but it happens. I'm convinced that probably you had also awful tournament in your life, one or two. I had mine. And in the beginning you play, you come with a lot of energy, with optimism, then something goes wrong, and then next day, okay, I lost, no problem. I go back, I prepare, I make the way I want to, everything. Okay, doesn't work again. Then next day you're still there. And then you're coming back again and again, and eventually you're not nervous anymore because you realize that simply it's not your day or not your tournament, and simply nothing works. The choices of openings, the decisions in the middle game, the opponent is kind of lucky also in some small things. So just everything against you. And then you say, okay, I cannot help it. It was a bad day. I mean, this way, from this point of view, it's some people are lucky that it's only one day. But when you have to play these kind of event, let's say in Weikanze for 2 weeks, freezing cold, you lose a game against 2670 or 2750, and next day you play with Kramnik. You lose a game, you play an end. It's not funny.
No,
It's not funny. As this game is not
it's
funny.
certainly not fun. No, I had a tournament, Judith, where it was the European Women's, where I'd done so much work. I was going to be passing 2450 for the first time. I was super excited about my possibilities, and everything went wrong. Like even the 1900s that I played, and I had 2 rooks on the second rank, and I was black. And I could not win that one. I was just like, what on earth is happening? But okay, I had some time, and Ju Wenjun wins again. It seems to be a perfect day for Ju Wenjun, as she now nurtures an 8-point lead, 8.5 to 1.5 point lead. Polina, with a nod of the head, she goes off, and she's gonna just thinking about how she can make that much needed comeback in the few minutes pause that she has. And a comeback is exactly what Polina needs.
Well, I think in this position, this situation, the best thing could happen to Polina is say, okay, I give up. Not give up, but generally say, okay, practically I'm lost this match, right? So let's enjoy it. Let all the pressure go away. I mean, really, nothing really works for her up to now. So the only thing she can hope for that let's enjoy some of the games. Let's score full point in some of the games to show that she can beat Ju Wenjun in 1 game or 2 or 3.
Absolutely. It's going to be a question of enjoyment now, and it's certainly an enjoyment for us. As the players are on a break, we are going to also take a pause, and when we come back, we are going to continue with the 3+1 portion, so stay tuned. We are back for the second half of the 3+1 portion, and there from the scoreboard it is Ju Wenjun who is in the driving seat, 8.5 points to 1.5 for Polina. It is all about that last ditch attempt now as she tries to narrow down that gap. It's going to be all about playing good, fast chess, bringing the tactical A game, and most importantly, just to release the pressure and let things flow. And for Ju Wenjun, she seems to have found a perfect strategy.
Well, it seems like she is playing very stably. That's her strategy, to play solid opening. That's her style, right? I mean, that's her. That's how she became several times. How many times she became world champion? Is she 5 already?
5-time. She's
5
5-time
times, right?
women's world champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, her stability shows in her game, and this is some of the key elements of strengths of great players. I mean, she's a grandmaster herself, and stability gives that extra many times, and she has that. A5. Okay, so Polina is playing. A5 is kind of probably some sideline, isn't it?
Yeah, but here with the knight jumping into e4, the usual reaction is to go bishop to d2, and you just
But
let black.
Juvenjun, she will just exchange pieces. Probably she goes d5. Ah, she goes now bishop d2. Okay, she will go
Yes.
bishop c3, playing very solid, exchanging pieces. At some point, maybe d5, but maybe she's not in a rush even to do that.
Yes, she can go into
Um,
the Ulf Anderson mode, right? Knight d2, trade off the
okay,
bishops.
I mean, how can you win with black in these positions, right? You have to create something. Go queen b8, f5.
Okay, that's something.
So what's her
Otherwise,
plan on e4 on the board?
well, there you go, f4.
And after queen g4, are we really happy? Or we are regretting?
Well, you cannot, for instance, allow e takes f5. You cannot allow, yeah. So I think you have to go all in with f4, and if queen to g4, you just go e5, and yeah, this one I'm not keen on. Was d5 played? The
No,
thing is
no, no,
also
no,
you
no, no.
can't take on e4 because this is a bad Dutch. So I
Maybe you
think
should
you
go
just
bishop
have to go.
f6.
Maybe, but but then again, there's nothing for black on the king side after e takes f5, and
Bishop
she does go
f6.
bishop to f6.
Bad move. Takes,
f4, by the
takes.
way, was
Was
the
the
move.
best? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Rook e6.
This. Yeah, rook e6, queen c6. Yeah, you need this Dutch bishop sitting on f7.
That square on e6 is no fun.
Mm-hmm.
Rook e6.
Yeah, rook e6, rook e1.
No, Juventus. Rook e2. You know, rook e2. Rook e1. h4. Just improving. Nothing concrete. Let's go very, very, very slowly.
Yeah. But this is why I believe that Paulina should stay away from openings such as like the Queen's Indian. Go for a King's Indian
Yeah.
defense. Where there's I know Ju and Jun will meet that with a fianchetto variation, but do something to unsettle her, unbalance the pawn structure from the get go.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 women's world champion, a classic. Absolutely, Ju and Jun is a legend of the game. She's won practically everything. So I think she's actually currently Women's World Blitz champion. She's WSCC champion. She's a
Well,
5-time Women's World champion.
Rook e6 eventually arrived.
And now getting into
What's the
Wenjun
best?
mode. You have moves like knight to e5, c5. Looks good. Cementing the dark squares.
At some point, even if b takes c5, rook f6 might show up on the board.
Well, now the queen just dropped
b5.
back. I feel like it doesn't matter whether you put it on c2 or you put it on d1.
What about taking on
Hang on a
a5?
second. I was going to say the same thing. So how could I not see that take on a5?
Does
Uh,
not seem to be risky. Just the pawn.
nope, just a pawn, and it's good enough. Everything is nicely defended. So, and okay, well, you move the rook away from e6.
Then you go back to e8.
The bishop can just drop back though.
h4.
Yeah,
It was expected.
it would have had to be
Bishop,
done, right? And
maybe d2, bishop g5.
it's happening now. It makes perfect sense, just try to get control over the e5 square for the knight. And now, bishop to g5. Bishop. Okay, I was expecting bishop g5.
Yeah, I was expecting bishop g5. Great defense with black.
Yeah, but I think it's also because Ju Wenjun, she realizes that she doesn't need to play hard here. She can just simply, again, drag this out. There's just under 20 minutes on the match clock. She has a huge lead in the match. And she doesn't need to be that ambitious. She's not in a must-win scenario.
Absolutely not, but I think she will be not happy if she does not win this game.
Yeah,
Which there
but
is
she
a
will
very
win
slim
this one.
chance. Yeah, slim chance that she will not score. Bishop f6, knight e5.
She's just doing it the long way round, with no risk whatsoever. And there you
Hardcore
go.
way.
Knight hitting c6,
Yeah.
g6. Minimal risk.
Yeah,
Completely
she's
unfazed.
always minimizing every possible risk.
Now she just has to go a4, promote the a pawn. Oh, she can win the
She
b
just
pawn.
takes. She just takes it. Why not to take it if it's there?
She will.
What is she thinking? What's going on?
Well, she can't think for too long because she's only got 10 seconds.
No, but something technically.
No, there's some things happened. Okay, I think she's taken
Yeah.
it. It was...
Nine and a half, 1.5.
Yeah, just being completely one-sided. Polina just, again, trying this bishop c4. And
Well, she had, she shouldn't have much. No, here you're not going to be creating problems for Ju Wenjun. It's not the path.
but I can tell you something. It's got a very scary name.
Yeah?
Yeah, this is the Frankenstein Dracula variation.
Oh. I wonder why it got that name.
Well, hang on a second. We're in for some fun because the English club players' favorite move has been played: h2, h4, h5, march Harry up the board. We were doing this way before Alpha Zero made it trendy.
Well, now White has to make sure that she's doing escaping with the queen from the exchange, but where? Where to? I wouldn't like to exchange.
No. Although I was tempted to go h6.
Yeah, I was
And
thinking about that as well. But I didn't see why is it so good. Takes on g6. But at least I understand completely Polina's aggression.
yeah. But the
No,
queen
it's
is just
very
simply
short.
being chased around the
G4,
board.
G5, King D2. I don't know. Go for it.
Yeah, exactly. You might as well. It's live by the sword, die by the sword. Yeah, h6. I did like g4, g5 better, but this is good. Take the space. But now you have a5 and b5, and it's not going to be very easy for white to actually find that inroad. And in fact, where is the queen going, Judith?
Our queen from A4.
If you go b5,
But after B5, the C5 square can be a weakness. I like bishop F4 because maybe she's going to play bishop E5 and then we can bring back the queen to F4. That I would be very happy with white. So Polina finally wins this game. Go for it.
well, it's certainly looking promising. I mean, I like the attitude. I like the spirit. Opposite side castling, go for broke, right from the word go. And okay, there's dark squares that are vulnerable on the king side, especially if you can transport that queen to the f6 square. The question is, how is she going to get there once Jun starts building cover? Yeah, that is exactly what you need to do to defend. It's very well done there by Wenjun.
Will she go knight G4? Or will she? At least black has to think of something, choose from different moves.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe
Decisions,
knight
right?
E8. Yeah, maybe knight E8 is a strong move. And queen F3, queen F7, or queen D7.
I was thinking
And
queen
knight E8,
f7, but knight e8 just keeps everything knitted
queen
together. Offers a queen
D7.
trade as well. The knight is. Hang on, hang on, hang on.
Look at that, rook on A8. D4. D4.
Excellent.
Okay, so this is her chance.
But it's not easy, Judith, to break through. Because, the d5 is heavily protected.
Yeah, that's
There's no
true. G4.
advances on the king side. Okay, yes, but where is that g pawn going to go?
Queen
It
G3,
could go to g5.
F4, F5, I don't know. Or maybe knight G2, knight F4, you can relocate your knight. All problems for your opponent.
Well, I agree. Something
Strange.
needs to be
It's a
done.
strange combination what Polina did. If you go rook D2, the logical to go rook D1, right? If you want to go rook E1, you could do that first. Now the H6 pawn is attacked.
But there's still moves such as knight to f5. Now you can do knight f5. Knight f5. Knight f5. I've been thinking about this move for a long time. It's not quite possible now because the bishop can escape to f7.
It's the best position Polina had this day. She can't ruin this one. She cannot.
No, it would be very painful for
Great.
her
Huh?
yet again. But okay, now it's just
Maybe
okay.
it's time.
Double on the E line. Exactly. Double on the E line and go forward. But one of the things, though, is that getting such a terrible score, it does affect your confidence. And somehow or other, you go into two modes. You go either into I'm completely reckless, I don't care, or you go into, oh, let me play a little bit more safer and not take the risk when you need to. And it's G5. But the
But she
thing is,
cannot
black is
lose
the only one
anything.
benefiting.
But she cannot lose anything at this point in this match. I mean, it's clear that it's not her day, it's Zhu Wenjun's day, extremely stable. So just go for it.
Yeah. And we'll see
I know
again,
it's.
she had the possibility to go knight H5, but she tucks the king to
Now,
A2.
I thought she goes knight h5 already. Okay, going back, knight h5. Okay, what about knight d5?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be a now.
But now knight e6 is activated. And our knight on g3, what does that do?
Yeah, now knight E4 is coming.
Oops.
Oh.
Oops, knight b4.
No. Oh. And it's all gone wrong again.
Oh, yeah. Queen f7.
Queen F7. Just ties
Oh,
everything together.
yeah. Now, knight e4. Got the chance.
Mm-hmm.
Check. Go, knight g5.
She has another chance.
Okay, go. Knight d5.
The problem is that it's not easy for Polina to get her second knight into the game, and she can throw in a check. The king is going to be hiding. Well, everything
5
is
seconds each.
covered. Oh, and a very important pawn has fallen. And so now the black king is very, very safe as long as she avoids any potential knight checks. And the tension is there on Polina's face. They have to go into blitz mode, throw in a check. Everything's happening instantly.
Zhu Wenjun's move, yeah? Rook f4 and h6. Look at that. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And now what she's doing, she's going to run the king over to the queen side, hide the king there, and then bank on this passed pawn. And it's going
It's not
to
only
make it up.
that, but she can play for 100 moves and play for endlessly. I mean,
Yep.
right? And gain time. But okay. Oh, what a heartbreak for Polina.
Yeah.
That was a heartbreak.
It's like so close to the finishing line, and she's just unable to put things away. But it means that Zhu Wenjun has 10.5 points to 1.5. And Zhu Wenjun has the white pieces, so we know what's going to be happening next. She's just going to go, I was going to say d4. She can continue doing the exact same thing, but if she switches things up, e4, of course, no e5 from Polina. She has to play Sicilian. But this is the problem with Zhu Wenjun's style. It's rock solid. She will close the position down. She will get that big center, and she will keep things as much in control as possible.
Yes, I mean, Zhu Wenjun, of course, has all these kind of systems. Whether she plays e4, knight f3, d4, she knows how to play in her own style. The stability, the positional way, the secure way. Whenever she's making her decision, for her, it's more difficult. I think if she's in a must-win situation, that's a huge challenge for her because her repertoire and personality and character is so much just to play chess, increasing the little advantage, stable, no blundering, no nothing. But in this situation, of course, it's just heaven, right? Collecting some points when they give chances to you, and otherwise you're just playing solid, and in each game the opponent has to create something, which finally was possible, and Polina was able to do in the previous game. But
Yeah,
now it's not.
it's
Now it's not a joy
this
to
makes
play
her a
this with
tough.
black.
No, it makes her a very tough opponent. I mean, she's beaten the world's best. I remember watching Ju Wenjun playing in a classical game and winning against Alireza Firouzja. She just completely was in her mode, brilliant rook and pawn ending. I recommend everyone go there and study it. And here she's in her element. She does what she does best. She has a very stable pawn structure. Everything is protected. She has that extra space, and it's going to be very difficult to unbalance that. Like the rook, the black rook needs to be on f8, I think. Trying to get in some f5s, anything for the pieces. Like, maybe there's going to be some bishop to d8 and remaneuvering the dark squared bishop somewhere. But for the time being, Ju Wenjun has a very pleasant space advantage.
But it seems that Polina doesn't understand or know these positions too well. She just wants to make a draw or what? Draw.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is
Okay.
a good policy, stem the bleeding. She can
Yeah.
have the white pieces.
Okay. Maybe it's sensible. Why not? It can give some confusion to Ju Wenjun that what was this? Of course, only
Okay.
seconds always from the next game because they play so instantly. And they have less than, well, this game actually might be the last game from this portion. It can
Yes.
easily be the last game.
And
Maybe that's what Polina is aiming for. Let's go for the bullet, and then it's just whatever happens. I go for it. We play for time, and let's hope for the miracle.
Yeah. She needs to go nuts in the bullets, right? She needs to abandon any long strategical game. It needs to be bam, 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 bam. Go for the jugular right from the get-go. Win very quickly as well.
She will has to win practically all the game they play. I mean, right now she's she's 9 points behind. 9 points behind, and we're seeing. Hopefully, she can score a full point here, win. But I like now she goes for it. Yeah, King H1, F4, go for the attack, pose problems, and D5 comes.
Exactly. Well, Ju Wenjun needed to do that because, as you were highlighting, F4 was incoming. So, when the action is working on the wings, you work in the center. And once again, the decision is placed on Polina. How is she going to respond to this break? Does she go for it anyhow?
You know what I see that Polina could have improved just by thinking that whenever Ju Wenjun wants something, playing against her plans. That could be a pretty good strategy against Ju Wenjun, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw Hou Yifan do that yesterday against Katerina Lagno. We saw that Katerina had a fondness for going knight a5, c5, and Hou Yifan just deliberately went bishop to d2 in one game. Just so there was like, no, you're not getting in your favorite.
Yes, because sometimes it's not objectivity what is the best solution. When they stop you from what you want to achieve and what moves and plans you want to do, it's disturbing. And then if you start making the mess in your head, then you do the work for the opponent. That you're confused. Oh, this doesn't work. That doesn't work. Doesn't allow me. But look at that. For Ju Wenjun, she could do everything what she wanted.
Yeah. And that's actually something that I've noticed Magnus Carlsen has. He has the ability to get into his opponent's mind and figure out the weaknesses and the strengths. And he can just do that very quickly. So I agree. That's something that Polina maybe there's a coach there somewhere listening to Polina in that break, which we're going to be seeing during the 3 minute and 1 minute, just says Ju Wenjun plays risk-free chess, shake it up.
Yeah, at the same time, of course, it's very difficult to play that way, that always think about your opponent when it's not concrete, just the positional and plans, strategical plans. Of course, that's extremely difficult to point out and to play against it, especially in a short time control. But they have to understand, and this, when you see strong players, you see that they don't only think about themselves, what they want to execute in the game. They always see also what is the aim of the opponent, and trying to stop what the opponent wants and trying to reach what I want is just as important. We have a pawn down, yeah, with white.
Yeah, Ju Wenjun just went queen a5, grabbed on a2, and since then it has been the Ju Wenjun show. She's just making everything right. She's got a very safe king. Polina is not making any inroads whatsoever on the king side, or her pieces clustered together. They have no purpose. And now, what is Polina going to do? Okay, this is as good move as any. Put the bishop on c7, eyeball e5. And perhaps she can start to untangle with moves like bishop to g4. Yep, that appears.
Yeah.
And Ju Wenjun, she is around the 1 minute and 10 mark, but there's just 38 seconds left on the match clock. So this will be the final game.
In the 3 minutes portion. Yeah. Black is attacking the pawn on e4, but that's not the only aim she has. Also, knight e6 is a possibility to strengthen her position, but of course a4 is also something that black can move forward. Queen e1 is also kind of unpleasant sometimes, but let's see.
You can take on b3,
Knight on g5, defending the f7 pawn.
Yeah. a3. There's still no inroads into the position, so why not go for promoting the pawn?
Look, things are so much protected for Zhou Wenjun, right? This knight is just defending the g5, f7 square. Bishop is defending the a3. She's always looking for connecting things and defending everything. Like she's safety against queen d7, because after queen d7, rook e7 would be the killer. So let's see what has happened with white. c3, queen b2. Black is making space for her pawn. Passed pawn. What a passed pawn. Not only attacking with the queen, the b3, but getting ready to push the pawn. Oof, 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 oof.
The queen is... Yep, the queen is trapped. So she had to give up material to get out of dodge. And now the a-pawn comes a-rolling, and Ju Wenjun wins again. Barely a smile there from Ju Wenjun, but inside she must be delighted as she nurtures a 10-point lead going into the bullet portion. It's been the dominating performance so far of the WSCC, Judith.
Well, absolutely. It's a horror day for Polina, but I don't want to take away at all Ju Wenjun's performance and praising her how stable and good she's playing today. Because, I mean, she takes her chances, she stabilizes the position. When she has a winning position, he just making it sharp and clear and clean. So she has these extremely good trademarks as a world champion herself and a grandmaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Zhu Wenjun just bringing her A game and also just playing on points. Now for Polina, she's going to have to shake things up, bring on some freestyle. And talking about freestyle, don't miss this week's Community Freestyle Friday. Every Friday, this event is open to everyone to compete in a Chess 960 style arena and win diamond membership on Chess.com. Starting at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, try your hand at the unpredictable variant that has the chess world talking. So use !CommunityFF in chat or visit go.chess.com/CommunityFF for more information. And we are going to go on a break, and when we're back, we'll be bringing you all of the action of the 1+1 portion. So stay tuned.
When competing against strong players who'd previously said dismissive things about women chess players like Garry Kasparov or Nigel Short, for instance, did you feel the need to try extra hard to beat them to prove a point? Was there any other group of players you had any kind of grudge against? Well, I grew up and it was very natural that people were not accepting really that small girls are competing with men. And Susan was kind of the icebreaker in this in the beginning. For me, it was already much easier to play in the open section. But of course, I remember that I had to prove it much more time that I can play well, and I'm not there in those tournaments by chance, but I belong there. In some cases, of course, it was more challenging and I was more ambitious to show. So, of course, when I was playing against Kasparov, it was a huge challenge and I wanted more than anything to play a game or play games that I really show great fight, and eventually I even won. I also had cases where not so strong players at all, men had some sexist remarks, or you knew the way they were thinking about little girls. Okay, you win, but you were lucky, and they were expressing these kind of thoughts. So then the victory was more tasty even. But generally speaking, I was more focusing on the game and give the maximum I can and score the maximum I can.
You know the rules, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we are playing with white pieces and we start the game with e4. Yeah? Why do we make this move? We are occupying the center, but we are also taking an eye on the d5 square. Yeah? So usually when you put the pieces towards the center, it cannot be bad. Many people will play the same. e7, e5. Now you're developing the knight, because in the beginning it's very important to develop the pieces to castle, to fight for the center. So with this move you are threatening to take on e5. So if your opponent is not careful, and sometimes you may see that somebody plays something like, for example, b6, it's a really bad move because you can already take the pawn. But quite often your opponents will see that the pawn is hanging and they will try to protect it by developing their own pieces. So knight c6 is a very common move. And now we develop our next piece, it's the bishop. So we move the bishop to c4. Again, it's towards the center. We are taking an eye on this pawn, and we don't allow black to occupy the center. For example, now d5 is not possible, because you take with the bishop or with the pawn and black cannot recapture because you have the protection. And now you may only remember one move more. If black is developing another knight towards the center, you have this idea of playing knight to g5, attacking this pawn. And your opponent will already be a bit shocked because it's not so easy to defend it. In case your opponent will develop the bishop, yeah, also looks very normal, then we can think about fighting for the center with the moves like c3 followed by d4. So that was the Italian B.
Welcome back. It is time for Bullet, the final stretch where the pace gets frantic. And now the question is for Zhu Wenjun, can she hold her nerve as she nurtures a 10-point lead over Polina Shuvalova? For Polina, it is now just about playing from the heart and just letting things flow. And she gets into the mindset now, closing her eyes, getting ready. It is going to take a miracle. But who knows what the gods have in store for us. There is Zhu Wenjun getting ready. Are the games beginning?
Well, it probably rarely happens that I can say that now it is a very straightforward goal for Polina. Just win all the games in bullet chess, and then you can still win the match.
She's going to have to do that. And she's going to start with the black pieces. And she has to do it quickly.
Do it quickly.
25 minutes.
First
That's
knight
all
off
she
in the
has
match.
left to turn. Yes, it is. And she is playing at breakneck speed. And that's exactly what she needs to do. And interesting that it's now that Zhu Wenjun decides to switch it up and go for an open Sicilian.
Yeah, but maybe she believes that, well, it's all about hand and mouse. So with these systems, many times people don't play it because they think, okay, it's a forced draw, it's not going to be a play. But I'm also kind of surprised that she chose to go this way. Things are going very fast. I think Polina has great chances. I mean, she couldn't dreamed of something more than this. To have an open Sicilian, she's going to be moving the bishop to g6, f5. That's what I was thinking. But it seems like that she goes with the rook to c8 and rook b8. So she
Also
has
good
to
enough,
be...
right? She has active pieces, and that's really what wants unbalanced pawn structure, and she's playing very, very quickly. And it's interesting for me that Zhu Wenjun does this. Okay, now she's trying to kind of lock the position up, but I feel like the pawn on a5 could be a weakness. And here we go. c5 from Zhu Wenjun requires some calculation, but you can take on c5, a6 falls. Everything is well covered though. Well,
c4.
the pawn
Well,
comes
21
marching
seconds.
in.
At least it's
But how-
complicated. Oh,
exactly,
and then
and she takes a
c2.
step back. That wasn't necessary. She has to move the knight, otherwise the queen is going to get trapped. And c2.
Go, rook b1.
Bishop b6. Is that something you can do? Bishop. And yeah, everything is going Polina's way. She finds herself in a very complicated position, and bishop d3 was something that I've been expecting for a long time. White has to get rid of this pawn on c2. It's a nuisance, and now White has just turned around again. The knight is coming to f5. Now, the only thing that Zhu Wenjun has to take care of is the king. The white king is vulnerable to knight takes g4 sacrifices.
Yeah, somehow it's everything is on Zhu Wenjun's side. She's had such a bad position at some point, but she's recovering. She's stabilizing her game. She is going to be not making such a mistake that she gives away this game. She has been playing so many games like this that it's simplifying, getting back a pawn, takes on king e3 or knight d2.
Yeah, it's just been one of those days for Polina where everything just goes wrong.
Okay.
And
Okay,
first
at least
W
it's
of the
still a
day
game.
incoming. Yeah. Well, king can come up. Maybe he's going to see the first win. Bishop f2.
Something is cooking, boiling.
You can go bishop e3. Yes. We're going to see our first win for Polina as the king is snaking its way around bishop to d2. And we have a win. And Polina
Okay.
strikes back. Well, she
The
needs to do
ice
more of the
broke.
same, and she needs to do it fast.
Okay, let's see. Game start. Sicilian again. Bishop b5, not open Sicilian. Let's see, maybe d4 will be still coming. But probably c3, d4 will be the move. Okay, let's see. Polina plays fast. Okay.
Is this tricky enough though to challenge black? Because black has nice development now. The knight comes to the center. The queen is going to step forward, connect the rooks.
Okay, bishop d5, bishop e3, some positional isolated pawn, h3, stably they're playing, queen d2, queen d3. Okay. Rook e4. Active play, maybe knight b3, attacking the d5. What do you think, knight b3?
Knight
So
b3
trying
looks
to go to
very
c5.
good.
Okay, queen d3.
Yeah.
Knight a5, trying to get to c4. Knight d2, pushing away the rook.
But the black knight is still going to come forward. And oh, but the thing is, now knight c4 comes with time. Because knight takes b2 is in the air. The knight is also threatening the bishop on e3. I mean, it's too much power. Knight takes b2.
Yeah, that was more appealing, but this looked safer as well. I thought knight e4 will be the move.
But this is also good enough.
Queen g3.
Queen comes to g3. And the white king is going to be checkmated. So resignation. And Wenjun strikes back. Not the comeback for Polina that she so wanted.
Let's see, another Sicilian, not open Sicilian. No. Not at all.
No. But
Instead,
this
solid.
is... Yeah, this is very much her style. I've always noticed that she wants to put pawns on e4, d4, knight on c3. She just wants classical kind of style of play, connect the rooks, nothing fancy. I'm expecting h3, yes, and it appears. And then just rook d1, rook c1. All is well for white.
At some point, h4, h5 would kind of be the move, but she's not going to make it. She plays stability. d5 actually at some point could be very dangerous.
And by the way, Judith, so the biggest winning margin history in the history of WSCC was Zhu Wenjun herself beat Anna Sargsyan in the round of 16 last year. So that was a 10-point victory with a final score of 13 against 3. So the big question is, can Zhu Wenjun break her own record?
Wow. Well, it's already 13-3 right now, the score. No, it's is it?
It is 13-3.
Yeah. But let's see what has happened in the last few moves.
Exactly.
Bishop d6, queen d2. Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Look
very
at
nice.
that. Wow.
Beautiful. Ow. And she doesn't take the bishop.
Queen d2. Ah, no, she took. Why didn't you play queen d2?
I was expecting Queenie to attack
Queen
the rook.
c3. Yeah, queen d2 was better.
Mm. Well, now you can. How can you untangle in? Because bishop to e7 is incoming.
Bishop
So,
a5.
right, yes. But then you got bishop a5.
Bishop
Now the
a5
rooks
was
are off.
b6. Okay.
Still.
What to do with black? Oh, she gave a pawn back. Okay, of course, she has a great advantage, but is it gonna be enough? 6 seconds only on the clock for Polina. 6
Not too much
seconds.
time.
Will that be enough to win this game? Yes, that's a pawn. King d7.
It is. But the black king is in time to defend c6. So now the black. And okay. Well,
Slim
black has
chance.
definitely a slim chance, but it is a chance. As the b pawn rolls up the
But
board, there's
at this point, there is a chance for 3 results.
anything can happen, that's for sure. And the knight finds itself back in the center, and well, the king can step forward. Zhu Wenjun's going to turn it around. Knight takes pawn.
The
Still,
best would have been, yeah.
well, she picks up another pawn. And it's the h pawn that comes rolling. Oh, everything is just working for Zhu Wenjun. And now she can just and everything is changing with seconds left on the clock. Okay.
And it's a draw
And there's no
because the white
inroads for
king
the white king.
cannot go forward.
Oh no, wait 1 second. There's knight check. Judith, the e pawn falls off. And now you just attack the bishop, and Zhu Wenjun wins. Currently nursing an 11-point lead. 13 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the match. And the big question for Zhu Wenjun is, by how much can she win this match?
Yes, it's, I think, not a question that she is going to be in the finals and playing with her countrywoman. Hou Yifan. But of course, the match is not over, but it's like it's mathematically not possible to catch up.
It's, yeah, barring Zhu Wenjun like falling to checkmate in the space of seconds, I mean, which is impossible. It is going to be all over. And Polina has a very promising position. She has nice pressure against a6. So things are going well for her here. And it's now a matter of pride, right? And sometimes that is the big motivator of all. He's just like, okay, I'm going to lose this match. That's a given. So I might as well just kind of relax and enjoy the scenarios and learn.
Well, as much as you can enjoy at this point this match, right? Because once you're experiencing that you're trying it, you're failing, you're trying, you're failing, you're trying, you're failing, then you have winning position, you're failing, and then you're we can see that Zhu Wenjun is also getting tired in the previous game. Also, of course, in bullet you make a lot of mistakes, so we can say practically you get chances, no question about it, but somehow you can't catch those chances, and of course it's full of frustration, losing another game and another game and another game. But well, that's what makes it the only difference between the really good and big champions and not the champions, that they try it one more time and again and again and again and again.
Exactly. Wasn't it Michael Jordan who said that he'd failed like 1,000 times and that was his success? But well, Ju Wenjun, she's gone down a pawn, and Polina looking like she's having a great position. She's past c pawn. Okay, the evaluation bar, as always, being very harsh. This is looking very nice. Now it's just a case of just escorting the pawns, b4, and just making sure that the white king always has a hiding place. h2 in this case.
Yeah, but there was some big blunder before because, of course, you have to watch out the back rank situation. As now also we are witnessing, there are some issues for white. Can black save the game playing h5, and there is a checkmate option over there?
Yeah, there is a checkmate. Okay, so you have to drop the queen back and cover the g4 square. Polina finds it, and now it should be all about
checkmate.
this. No,
checkmate. She blundered.
Checkmate. Oh, when it rains, it pours. I don't think Wenjun could quite believe it. It really has just gone horribly wrong for Polina. But it is what it is, and we have more games.
Yeah, they have 10 more minutes to finish those few bullet games, which is left out of this match. Huge margin. What Zhou Wenjun is leading is crazy, 15 to 3 points. And there was one game Polina won, right? There was one game and 4 draws.
Mm-hmm.
And several opportunities.
Yeah, she'll be kicking herself so many points off. She just let go, you know. But Zhou Wenjun has the white pieces. The match is still not over. There's still a lot more chess to enjoy. And I'm expecting
very different.
Mm-hmm.
Very different position from anything what we've seen before in this match. Very different.
Well, it's a very stable. It's kind of Zhou Wenjun's trademark style. You know? Stable structure. It's mainly all about harmonizing the pieces, and nothing can seriously go wrong for her. Yes, space. It's a very simple style of chess. I mean, and I love the way that she coordinates the pieces so beautifully. I mean, I still think back to that game where she was slightly worse, but she maneuvered her rook to a3, and she managed to change a position that was slightly worse to where she's pressing, just because she has this natural feel of the best places to put her pieces. And talking about rook a3, sure enough, a rook appears on a3 and the queen goes there as well. So she's just making sure that a5 is never going to be under threat.
Yeah, great. Stabilizing her c5 knight very much. Not rushing to exchange the bishop for the knight at all.
Yeah,
at the same
and it's
time,
magic,
maybe knight
right?
a5, but it's knight a5 now. Wasn't it possible?
There was, but it was just like magic the way that she went rook a3, queen a1. She set up this pawn formation, dropped the rook back to a2 on the e line, and now she's the only one that is better. Oi, oi, oi! The pawn falls on d5,
and now on f5.
Yeah, very least we can take the rook. And the b7
Everything
pawn
is
falls. And another win for Zhou Wenjun.
And there's no way out, you know. I mean, for Polina, she cannot resign the match. She has to play all the way. She has 7 more minutes to play, whether it's going to be 2 games or 3 games. But she has to go until the end. Mm-hmm. This was kind of differentiate chess from other sports, that in chess you can ease yourself by resigning, right? In other sports you don't. No matter what's going on, you have the time limit that you have to get out. So from this perspective, I like it that here we have the time frame, and then they have to give the maximum, whether it's 2 games, 3 games, 5 games, whatever number of games. because we used to, as chess players, that if we are doing badly, really badly, we just resign and go home and being frustrated about that. But here, no,
That-
no, 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 no. Again, try again. We are forced.
Exactly. But in chess, it's like a completely different game that you're playing. You know, you can resume that game in this particular match and then get on with it another game and then just keep on going. There are some card games, like I'm thinking of one, Dominion, which my husband sometimes plays, and he hates it because when he's losing, you're completely lost. He's busted, but they make him play because otherwise he'll ruin the game for everyone else.
Uh-huh.
So he has to keep on playing for about an hour and a half, and he's like, oh.
Just like you have a piece down and you have to stay and play until
Yeah,
checkmate.
yeah. For
You,
and
you don't
there
get
we
out of
see,
bad situations so
yeah,
easily, yeah?
no,
Okay, Wenjun has
but
a beautiful position again. Look at this isolated pawn on d4. This knight is not well placed at all, only defending the pawn. This b6 pawn is exceptionally well covering the squares from the b3 knight. Isn't knight d4 kind of a move?
it feels like a good move, but I guess
I'm not
Wenjun
sure.
doesn't really want to calculate on queen c7. Okay, well, Polina at least has an active queen coming in. There's a threat against on b7. The thing is, though, this pawn on d4 is very weak. It's always a nice target for black to attack. Okay, but now there's questions, right? Because the pawn on f7 is going to be hanging. So hang on a second, not so simple.
Well,
Bishop
probably
takes knight.
taking on c7 first. Oops, what has happened? Ah, Wenjun was thinking wrong. Lost time.
Aha. Okay.
And the
Well,
first time she smiled. Like
yeah.
ironically, probably that okay. But it's late night
16.
at her place
Yes.
and she can afford it, right? Because she's leading 15-4. 11 points lead, 4 and 15 minutes left. She's
Yeah.
getting tired. She knows that she won the match, so how can she be motivated? I know that the money splitting and earning money, that's the motivation at this point. But well, it's nearly midnight at her place, I think. So
Mhm.
I wonder how the players are preparing for this when they play online. It might be, it must be so different that in some places, like Juvenju now, she's playing in China, started at 8:30 or something p.m. While Polina is playing in Europe and she's like early afternoon. That's when the match started. So it's interesting that some of the players have very different time zones. I never played in my life at midnight, for example, I think. I don't think I ever played.
Mhm.
Did you?
No, no, I've never. Yes, I have. Yes, I mean, I have, what a lie I am. So, okay, so it's very popular in Spain to have these late night tournaments. Like, I
Oh,
mean, you
okay.
start the round at 6 p.m. and then you find yourself playing at midnight. And I do remember also I played the Women's World Championship. It was a knockout at that point, and they had it at that particular point that you played the second game and then you played the tie breaks. And I think I drew the first two games and then I was playing at midnight. And I'm an early bird, and playing at midnight does not suit me. By the way, I have your undivided attention. I have this big debate with fellow chess players. They say that it's better to get up late when you're playing a tournament, to be that late night owl. That being, awake in the morning is bad.
Well, I was waking up like, depending on when in the afternoon the game is, but like around 9 o'clock in the morning. I know many chess players, they wake up at noon or something, especially if you have a
Mm,
late game like 3 p.m. or 4 p.m.
yeah.
And
And I even I even heard some people had it down to a science. They said, well, the brain is active like 2 hours after awake. That's the peak moment. So they would deliberately wake up 2 hours before the route.
No, I never heard that one. But now it comes to mind for me also that actually I did play late night, because once I played in Iceland when it was white nights, and the game started in Egilsstadir we were playing, and it started 7 p.m. So probably I must have been playing at 11 or 12 because it was a classical tournament. So I was playing, but it was not dark.
Yeah, it was not dark, and
It felt
therefore
like
it's actually. But you're right. If it's not dark, it doesn't really count, because we have these white nights as well in Norway, and it doesn't feel the same. And talking about white nights, I mean, this is great position there for white for Xu Wenjun.
with the knight, with the white knight. But I was expecting knight on d5, not on b5. Oh, that seems
Yeah,
painful pin.
yeah,
Not promising for black. 5 seconds, and a scary position.
very scary indeed.
But what?
Take-
Well, this is already not so scary. It's just a pawn down. I mean, look at this king. Something might go wrong also for white.
Yeah, but
If there is some tactic.
everything is anchored. I mean, that's the thing, Ji Wenjun has set everything nicely up so that the knight on d6 is not loose. She can just dilly-dally with the queen. And Paulina has to kind of find a way to keep the game alive. And again, everything nicely controlled. I'm very impressed by the way that Zhu Wenjun constantly keeps her king safe. And look at this. In she comes in with a rook.
A3, look at that. She plays A3, not queen c6 and rook a8. A3. That's lovely.
I was expecting her to swap of queens, but with seconds left on the clock, she doesn't need to. F5 coming. White king, safe as houses. 42 seconds ticking down on the match timer. So this could be the last game that we're seeing. Nope, because it's going to be finishing. And Ji Wenjun wins another game. 17-4. That's a massive score. One final effort from these two. But it is certain we are going to be seeing a Zhu Wenjun against Hou Yifan final.
Absolutely. And what an exciting day tomorrow going to be, because that seems to be a match where it will go until the very end, because both of them are very tough, very resilient, world champions several times, so they have all those skills what you have to have in the most difficult moments to show their
Exactly, and both of
champion
them.
skills.
And both of them have been pushed to the brink during the WSCC. Hou Yifan having to win twice against Divya Deshmukh. Both of them like rising to the occasion, like fighting off tie breaks. It went to the wire between Zhu Wenjun and Bimbisara Saubeyeva. And also, both of these players, both Hou Yifan and Zhu Wenjun, they have leveled up. They're big match players. They know when to bring the power. And we are seeing some more like trades. The rook comes in, but the bishop can just sit there on c6. But white definitely has a pleasant advantage. So maybe this is the time for Polina to end the note on a high.
Yeah, the c6 bishop is excellent in defense. At the same time, it cannot be very proud on the activity level. White, of course, has a beautiful bishop. Once it can have a dream to control the black squares. And it's only white who is trying to push in this position, but it will be not easy to gain real advantage. Getting less and less material on the board. And the black rook was able to get out from the passive play on the 8th rank. So now there is great Conti chances looking with the rook on the 2nd rank.
Yes, and if the rooks disappear, then that's it. But the rook is going to be capturing on b2, and sure
Bishop
enough, it
b5,
does.
bishop also possible.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the game which Polina wins, unless there will be a blunder of rooks. That's the only chance, I believe. Okay, rook h6.
Yeah.
Rook h6. Taking the pawn. Okay, now suddenly white is back in business. Back in business.
Right, but hold a draw though, because now
Well,
d4 is coming.
Finally, the bishop on c6. How passive it was, but suddenly after the pawn push d4, it gains all the power there. Okay,
Yeah.
there's still a danger for black. g6 and rook f8 checkmate.
Mm-hmm.
Rook h1.
So close. The king can
Prophylactic
sneak in
almost.
now.
You mean this king?
Yes.
Now I see a
It's there,
self-mate by
right?
playing. Yeah, but it's bishop e8 checkmate if we would go there. But now it
Yeah.
seems g6 and game. Well, yeah, I was guessing wrongly that it's impossible for black to lose, because maybe it's not the case.
But now the king can really start coming in. Now he's breaking down the blockade, and
Well,
Polina
checkmate next.
will be promoting. And
Yeah.
she does it. It is 17-5. Wenjun with an absolutely dominating performance. She walks straight into the final tomorrow against Hou Yifan, and smiles the happiness from Wenjun as she makes it to the Women's Speed Chess Championship final once again. A big question is, will she be retaining her title? So, one good news though for Polina, she did finish the match on a high, but Wenjun did also shatter the record that she had set last year. She managed to get a 12-point lead, 12-point advantage. I think that's the most we've ever seen in the history of the WSCC.
Well, and yeah, and as we've seen in the last game, she was and she blundered and she lost. So it's not that she was the luck was always on her side. She showed her class.
She definitely showed her class. Completely agree with you there. She's a 5-time Women's World Champion. She's current WSCC champion, Women's World Blitz champion. And this is the final that we all were waiting for, as she plays against a former 4-time Women's World Champion, Hou Yifan. That is going to be happening tomorrow. So all I know is that we can expect some incredible fireworks. There's two legends of the game just lock heads in a battle. Judith, what do you think both players need to bring to the match tomorrow?
Well, I think it's going to be a very tough match because both players are extremely stable. Of course, Wenjun, I believe she's clearly a more active player these days, so that can bring her a plus in this match. At the same time, I think both players are extremely motivated to show their best and to take the trophy and win the event. So I'm expecting that there will be a lot of drama and a lot of exciting and good chess, hopefully.
I think that's one thing that is going to be guaranteed. We're going to see great chess. We are going to see two players incredibly motivated coming to tomorrow's battle in full-on A mode. So I can't wait for that. Judith, I'd like to thank you once again for making this such a fun, entertainment and instructive match to follow. And of course, I'd like to thank everyone at home for joining in, just bringing the fun to what is an incredible event. And well, as we wrap up on the semi-finals, well, all that's left for me to say is tomorrow it is the epic final that we all were praying for, we all wanted. It is two women's world champions, two legends of the game, Wenjun, Hou Yifan facing off against each other in the WSCC finals. Until tomorrow, I will bid you goodbye.